am the life coach. Hi guys, this is GM the life coach. This is the podcast of podcasts. This is the manosphere. I might say this is the manosphere. So we're gonna do it today, yeah. GM the life coach manosphere. We've got one person coming in, we've got 4 people in so far. So let's go from my screen. We're gonna go from left to right. So we're gonna go Carl first. If you just introduce yourself to everybody, please.
Hi, my name's Kyle. I'm a designer in the creative industry.
All right, nice one. Kadeem.
Hi, I'm Kadeem. I'm a drama therapist. Work with young people, challenging young people, and my speciality is really working with anybody who reckons they can't be worked with. So I'm happy to have that conversation today.
We like that. Abby.
Hi, my name is Abby. I work in finance and I do management accounting as a career profession.
Wicked. No, I am GM the life coach. All right, so we've got a few things we're going to talk about today. Some of it might be triggering for some people, but hopefully we're not going to try and offend people. We're going to be honest in our views. Yeah, we're going to be honest in our views. We're not going to try and mix any words. All right. First things first. Liverpool won the league. I'm very happy about that. So big up to all you Liverpool supporters out there. All right, I got to get in the podcast because it's very important. Yeah, very important. Abby, do you want to say anything? Are you happy? How happy are you?
Yeah, over the moon. Going to be in Liverpool at the end of May, so definitely going to see the parade for the first time. So that'd be emotional. Yeah, that'd be really good. So I'm glad I have to go.
You're going for it. All right, you get that to yourself. All right, okay, good. Just by I'm here now. Carl, do you support a football team?
You know what? No, I'm one of those weird guys who's not into football that much.
You
know what? I always preferred playing sports to actually watching them. That was my thing when I was growing up.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Probably a better thing. You don't get all tribal then. Kadeem?
Yeah, I'm the same as well. I used to play a lot of football, but I don't really watch or support anybody like that anymore. To be fair, I used to be a strong United fan back in the day.
Because they used to win, innit? Yeah, we know you
No.
like.
I went to the games and family from there. And I'm still a United fan now. If you're going to ask me who my allegiance is with United, and look at the times that we're in, man. So, yeah, man. No shame. No shame.
I ain't going to say nothing. So I ain't going to say
that.
To be fair, I was saying, wait, if I get forced to say who I supported, say Palace, because they gave me my first design job. So
there you go. That's why I ended up supporting Liverpool, to be fair. Because it was the first team. I saw a black man running around. I was like, okay, I'm supporting that team. And that was it. I didn't know anybody else. John Barnes went up and down. I didn't know anything. And I wasn't going to support Tottenham. So, yeah. My mum used to have a guy she used to be with back in the day. He used to support Tottenham. Oh, God. Oh, man. It's the worst matches ever. Boring, man. Anyway, I'm getting it. So first thing we're going to talk about today is Shannon Sharpe. We're all those of you that don't know about Shannon Sharpe is a TV presenter in the States. He has his own podcast. He works for ESPN, or he did work for ESPN. Bit 10 to hooks right now. And he decided in his divine wisdom, he's at 61 or 66, something like that. Was it 56? 67?
I think it's
56.
56.
I think it's 56. Yeah, I think it's
56, not 56. Yeah. And he decided that he wanted to get involved with a few people, all right? Because he's an eligible bachelor. He's had his wife, had his kids, and split up with them. But now he's just out there doing his thing. But he's decided that he wanted to get with a 20, or he was 19 at the time, a 19-year-old OnlyFans young lady. And he's getting a lot of heat for his involvement in that and the fact that he's decided that he wants to, be with her and all the rest of it. But where it becomes problematic is that he's decided, or they both decided they want to have rough intimacy, okay? And she's now claiming that he went over the odds and he was, doing it against her will. Even though she said it in a couple of text messages that's come out that she actually wants, to be rough, and his babies and his money for his stuff. So, Kadeem, what do you know about this? What did you think about all this?
I saw a lot of memes. I saw a lot of Dr. Umar. I saw a lot. I saw a lot of the typical conversation about another one that's been caught or been trapped. Let's be honest. Let's be honest now. Let's put ourselves in the position of Shannon Sharpe. Yeah, like you said, like you very well introduced him. He is a free man. In his mind, he believes he's a free man, and he is a high value man. So, this is a conversation that comes up often that people don't necessarily want to recognize. But it's 2025. And like you say, if you're a high value person, especially a celebrity, and you choose that you want to tailor your specific experience, that's what he's gone and done. I don't see how this is any different to people who say that they're going on a world tour or they're going on business class. It's all the same thing. It's just this is what we're doing now. You're choosing the experience that you want, and that's what he's done. He's in that lane to do that. That's what he's doing. People are just upset now. Again, yeah. Could we see this coming? Yeah, but he's running them risks. He knows he'll sort that out. He's got the money. He's got the money. So again, like he's here for the fun of it, and maybe that's part of the excitement because you have someone who is of a Caucasian background, and on OnlyFans in that area, and talking to you about let's go rough, and you are plus 6 foot, built what, light heavyweight. Yeah, come on. No, and you're 3 times her age. No, come on. It's like red flag. Because you have to ask yourself, and that's the problem. Maybe that's where this is the issue. He didn't ask himself, what if?
Yeah. And I think a lot of the thing is about awareness, isn't it? Carl, what do you think?
Interesting. I didn't see any of the memes, like I didn't see any of that stuff. I didn't see any of the takes because I've actually come off social media, funny enough, for those reasons, like being influenced and seeing all of those kind of things. So from my understanding of the situation, I think it's important to kind of separate it out into like different parts. Firstly, I don't kink shame no one. Everybody can do what they want in the bedroom.
I like that kink shame. I like that. That's
I don't. Listen, I got 3 rules. As long as they are able to give consent, as long as they are of age to give consent, and as long as it involves humans, you do whatever you want. As long as everybody is consenting, that's it. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
You know, it don't mean I'm gonna get up to everything that they're doing, but whatever. Like people can do what they want. So that's my view on that. I wouldn't say anything on that. But Shannon Sharpe is a celebrity. He has to understand the choices that we've made in terms of what you spoke on, the fact that, you know, he's entertaining a young woman at that, a white woman, and being a huge black man. Like he ain't Margot, he's a big black guy. He's like, what was he, a linebacker or something like that?
Yeah, he was NFL. Yeah, NFL.
Right. So it's one of those situations. If we were talking about a regular person who, you know, has a regular job and things like that, I'd probably write out for them and just be like, listen, that's what we can't. You know, he shouldn't be shamed for his choices. Anybody can love who they want. But the age difference, the fact that he's a celebrity, and the optics involved, and the choices that he's made, for me, I wish him well, but I don't feel sorry for the choice that he's made and how it's resulted and how it's played out. Because we're not just talking about a regular person, we're talking about a young woman who's in OnlyFans, so is not afraid to kind of monetize or seek value out of her body. Who's seen a mark, who's a successful and famous black man. And not only that, from what I understand, the kink play was also around race play or racial connotations behind it as well. So again, I don't shame people for the choices that they make in the bedroom. You can do whatever you want, but as I say, it's important to add that aspect in there, which is the fact that he's a celebrity and he should have known this could have come out. You know, there's people who do these kind of things with NDAs and things like that for a reason. So he just wasn't smart. I wish the guy well. I hope he gets out of it, but it sounds like he just wasn't smart. He just wasn't smart at all.
There's been some talk about him having some form of NDA, some form of something that he signed with us. I don't know whether that has what she's done has gone against the NDA. I don't know legally. Also, just to say, his counsel that her counsel, sorry, is the same counsel that Jay-Z that came against Jay-Z, wanted to get Jay-Z. So he's apparently built to be a charlatan, or an opportunist. Some will say charlatan, opportunist. Yeah.
Opportunist.
To try and take down some black men. The same kind of situation. But then at the same time, Shannon put himself in that situation for himself. She's coming for 50 mil. Coming for 50 mil. Yeah.
50 million. Yeah.
That's what she was asking for, isn't it? 50 mil.
Yeah, 50 mil. He said he tried to put it, close it off and put it underneath the covers by paying her off. She was like, nah, not doing it. Apparently he allegedly offered 10 million to her, and she said nah. Because obviously she must have got counseling for I could get more for this. So you know what I mean? Abs, what do you think?
I think that
I love that though. Kink shame. I love that.
He paid for a service which the woman was offering. The content is up to them or what they agree, and it's down to them. And he's paying for a service. The only thing where it could have been wrong, which would have been if she was underage. I think that's the only thing that could have been wrong, given all of the others are in place, that they agreed to it. They're sending the service. Okay, let's do this together. Whether it's sex or not, it could have been something else. They could have, let's go around together, I'll pay you 50 million or 10 million. But it's sex, so people are going to frown upon it. The person who's not rich or famous could be still doing the same thing, maybe paying a lot less or some other form of transaction. So I don't think the shade is on Shannon for what he's doing, but it's because he's a celebrity and he's out there, he's a name. It's easy to just say, oh my god, that looks bad and that he shouldn't be doing it. Everybody's she's selling a service. Could you not put shade on her for that? But it's always going to be for the person receiving it. And
because he would. The thing is, he apparently saw her in the gym. They're at the gym. He apparently, according to her, he made advances and she didn't want it. She kept him pushing him back, and eventually she must have acquiesced in. That's apparently what happened.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry. Have I missed something? Was she an escort?
Yeah, I thought this was OnlyFans. Yeah.
She did say 25K for both of the
both cheeks. He said 25K for both cheeks.
So she was selling it, and to think about it, these it's a very big system of exploiting each other because they're going to the same gym. They're going to the same gym, so she must, so she's going to know people.
Yeah,
she's going to put herself in the right place to meet these people that can meet her demands and that want her to do stuff, and she's happy to do it. You know what I mean? The role play thing, everybody role plays something. Just because it's black and white, it's just role play, and it's framed in a way that the conversation is, it looks very bad on him. The only thing Shannon done wrong, he just didn't. He didn't cover himself and keep his business private. Basically.
Yeah, of course he didn't. This is why he's getting a lot of flack.
Because keeping business private, as long as it's not some ridiculous, crazy shit, which is unacceptable. Like, I think underage, is mostly the key one. But
I'm gonna jump up, Abby. I'm gonna jump up, Abby. I got two curveballs here. Yeah.
I like this.
So first thing. You like I said, I'm gonna throw out the underage point. Yeah, because if this girl, let's go with the original point. If he met her on OnlyFans, is it his problem that she's underage, or should his vengeance and wrath be with OnlyFans? Should that all come into play? Because remember, you shouldn't be underage and be on OnlyFans. So if she turns out to be underage, like again, if he met her on OnlyFans and then it turns out that way, do we feel sympathetic for him, or do we still see him as a predator?
He should have done it.
That's my first question.
He's let himself open, so he should have done his due diligence. What he can do, even if he does do it, and then he still gets called out. What still going to look bad
The thing is, even when you look at her, right? You can tell that she's young. Yeah, she's young. And when you hear her voice, which I'm going to play in a minute, you can hear that she's young as well. So he knew he was getting some
Into
youthful
some,
flesh.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You weren't getting no,
This was
big
a
woman,
mistake.
no stuff.
Yeah.
You're gonna talk back and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
But again, the youthfulness is a choice. So he's going for younger than him. What if he had somebody who is older than him, 75? What would have been? People would be like, can't you get someone younger or something like that?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
So
yeah, I like that. I like that. And that comes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Obviously, we know there's the age for consent, and that shouldn't be crossed to whatever country you're in, because that's just not right. Because the child is not fully aware. You would assume the child is not fully aware of what they're committing to. So
Yeah,
you've got there's going to be a limit. You've got to.
How old is the child?
But, yeah, so I'm saying it could be 18, like
under 18, innit? I guess under 18 is the child.
Whatever,
I think.
Yeah, whatever they can make.
I mean, America's different to us. I think what's ours?
Yeah, so
16.
16,
and then if you're 18, you're like, it's another
Ready for
extension as
video.
well.
So it's going to vary across the world. It's going to vary across the world. But that's what I'm saying. So it could have been very young to some people, but then it could have been very old to other people. Look at, like, for instance, look at what happened to Wayne Rooney. So the same thing. People are saying, he likes that. The granny man.
Oh, with the old granny. Oh,
yeah. So there's no. It's what you like within the rules of the limit.
What is the thing? This is the thing. I'm sure his counsel will argue that he's not committed any crimes. He's an adult.
Yeah.
They're both consenting adults. Whatever. Blah blah blah. But the part of it that really comes into question is the way he's made to be seen as an overbearing black man, big burly, like we said before, and he's come to aggress or force this young lady into having very aggressive and unwanted sex, or do you know what I'm saying? In no uncertain terms.
This is the problem. That's the problem.
The voice, so the voice of her. I think that when they were talking, they were role played. So it's maybe obviously they've seen an opportunity where they can make you very hard for you, really bad for you to get out of it, and you can't. Either way, you're not going to get out of it, and it's going to damage your reputation. I can get a lot of money if you just by publishing it, and you're going to lose a lot as well as pay me off some. So he's got a lot more to lose, and he's got all to gain. So they play clips to influence us and throw us off, get us thinking in that direction. And
so I'm gonna play the clip now. I'm gonna play the clip now.
Once we're on that thought, it's hard to get out of that. And then because what happens is internet puts out bits of information, bits of that, and it's all back to front. And if you want to hold it in secret, if you play the whole video or whole audio conversation, it's going to sound very different. You know what I mean? And you're going to know their role. So maybe at the start of the call, okay, let's get into our role play now. Okay, boom, go. Yeah, Mr. Black Guy. Yeah, and start talking like that. And that's what some people get off on.
Mr. Black Guy.
So, well, that's what I'm saying. And that's their own. You saw an opportunity to go beyond the agreement and get a bit of fame, and now throw this man under the bus.
All right.
All
right. Go on, Kadeem. What were you going to say? Because I know you're itching to get in there.
Yeah, I think, like I said, let's come back to the role play. Yeah, let's come back to the role play. Like that, I like what you said there, Abby, because if it was on the other side, but let's go down to it. Let's get Kyle's opinion on here, because when you're saying that all things are okay or things like that, but maybe when you are Shannon Sharpe, you should know that this, and you're into violent role play, like you say, if you're into young girls or you're into old women, maybe again some red flags should flag up that what if this goes wrong, because like if you're into like maybe a little 1-2 jab cross, or you just want some ball busting or whatever, who knows what he's into, but you have to start asking the questions. Like, if I'm doing this with somebody who, although they're consenting, they may not be of good enough health, then this is where the problem is, because again, this is the weight classes are there for a reason, and so he might have been having his merry old time on this girl, and she's getting buck up. And this is the problem. He needed to have thought about that again. Like, it's not like they were doing like girlfriend experience. Yeah, it's not that thing. They weren't going out with each other like that. You're talking about, yeah, I want this tribal smoke. No, so okay, like, think about the fact that I don't even know how tall this girl is. I don't know how much weight she weighs. Yeah, but let's look at some of those factors first. And let's really ask ourselves, should he have been going in like this? Again, looking into the age, he's in his 50s. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's capable of. This poor girl out here, she's out here to make a dime. And that's the problem. That's part of the problem.
I mean, the guy could have been a lot older. I mean, you see women marrying older guys with a lot of wealth. Well, you know, I can name countless women in so-called real-life relationships with the man who's very old and he's got a wealth and they have babies. So, you know, it's talking about what is already in existence. Put it that way, you know, and you know, it's like saying you can't shame one for going for the other because the other has accepted in the first place. So, you know, the two can't come together without, you know, unless one is false, and that's where it's the problem. But it's not, then that's their choice. And you know, it's like if you saw a young man marrying an older woman and she had a lot of money or whatever, what are you going to say? Which happens.
All right,
Yeah,
Carl, go on, Carl.
Listen, I'm at a point where I'm learning about a lot of things as I'm going on, like, because I just had to Google and found out the girl was 19 years old. I didn't realize that at the time when I was speaking. I thought she was like 25 or something like that. So what Abby's saying, firstly, I just take the world as it is rather than how it should be. And the fact of the matter is double standards exist and they're just here. So when you're talking about an older man with a younger girl and the, you know, what it looks like him taking advantage of her versus a young man with an older woman, it would seem the same. It just is what it is. The power dynamics are not the same for the most part. So that's what I think that in terms of what you're saying, yeah, he should have thought about it. And that's really what I'm saying, because the only real deciding factor here is the fact that he's a celebrity. He should have just been smarter than that. In terms of the age difference,
so you should have gone for a girl a bit older. That's all right, or what?
No, I'm actually saying. Well, I mean, he should have been just a bit more safer and not with something, you know, a 19-year-old who's looking for a come up. You know, that you should understand that you're a mark. If you're a famous black man or a celebrity, a famous man in general who's successful, rich and successful, you just have to understand that, you know, you've got to be smart in your decision making when it comes to who you're laying down with. And it's the same thing in reverse. So even if you're a rich and successful woman, you've got to be smart about who you're laying down. This is what it is, right? But if you're asking me about, again, if I still stand by my claim of I don't kink shame, anybody can do what they want, I'm not gonna lie, I still stand by it. Like, age difference, like, it don't stop the fact that, you know, you could be seen as a nasty man. It just is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. He wanted to get with someone who I did not realize she was 19. Damn. But
it's not underage, so.
But it's not underage. It's not. That's right. But yeah, if he's got a thing for that, then so be it. If he's got a thing for race play, if he's got a thing for you know, being the domineering man in a situation, and he's doing it with somebody who's consenting of that, then so be it. But as I say, it's literally just he's stupid. He's stupid for it. But and
to say the least.
Yeah, but when you add in the fact that he's a celebrity, it's just dumb. And that's why I stand by what I said in the beginning. I got the sympathy for him in terms of,
you know, there was also a rumor that people were saying that he was gay, right? So there was a thing where he was trying to, people also surmised that he was trying to make it seem like he wasn't gay and he was into you know, women, you know, and he's got it like that. Do you know what I mean? So so what happened? He had an Instagram live. I don't know if you, Carl, you wouldn't know this, but he had an Instagram live where he accidentally went live.
Oh yeah, I was on.
He was knocking the boots with a woman last year. Yeah.
Running,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Was he there? Oh,
Was it
Michelle.
accidental or was it
Michelle.
Was it
He says
accidental? Accidentally
he
made
says
up?
it's accidental. He says it's accidental. But how do you?
Accidental.
How could you know Instagram Live? Right? You have to. It's an intentional act to do Instagram Live, right? You have to.
But you have to press like
want to
5
press
buttons.
the button exactly to get on exactly. So how do you accidentally go on Instagram Live? He said he didn't know how to use it. You know, he's an old man. Blah blah blah. So there's some people who surmise that this whole thing might be a ruse to show people that he's got it like that and he's really, you know. Also, another caveat
He's got it
is
like
that
what? Sorry, you pay women for
Yeah, let's go back to that. Yeah, got it like what?
I'm trying to slide that in.
Because that's left man. But there's too many doors.
No,
there.
but for some celebrities, their whole thing is I can get women when I want, and I can also get young women. Remember, he's an old man, innit? So
I'm sure he can.
You know, his thing is I can get it whenever I need. You know, whenever I need it, I can get whatever. And some people, not my terminology, but I'm just repeating what people have said. Some people like snow bunnies, and so that's their thing, you know, that's their thing. It's not my terminology again. I'm just using what I've heard, all right, on the internet. Okay, all right, people. So
Disclaimer.
my disclaimer, big one. And also this another thing which really kills the point what we've all been saying basically is that when he had his podcast and he had his Cat Williams podcast and he blew up, and he had the one with what's the female comedian Monique, yeah. She said to him, stay away from the young girls, Shannon. You don't need to be going with the young girls. Stay away from them. Yeah. And he laughed up like, you know, what about even if they're just students? She was like, no, stay away from them. Yeah. And also I think Cat Williams also said something to him similar.
On the same thing,
stay away from the young girls. So he got told by his peers, he'd been told by his peers that he shouldn't have done it, and he still did it. All right. Right. So hold on. Let me just I'm gonna try and play this clip of this girl, yeah. Hold on. Let me just share my screen. All right. Let me know if you can hear it or if you can't, yeah. Okay. Hold on a minute. Sorry, let me go to the page. It'd be good if I did that, innit? Okay.
I say you're just gonna get mad at and you're just gonna hang up on me.
Yeah, can you hear it? Yeah.
Can hear and see it, man. Yeah.
Okay, I can see it as well. Good. All right, have a listen, guys.
Anything I say, you're just gonna get mad at and you're just gonna hang up on me. So I feel like
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
What does that even mean?
Nothing yet. You want to be a dick to me now, so.
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
I don't know that person. If you say that one more time, I'm gonna choke out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
Anything I.
So, guys, that was the audio that came out. What do we feel about the audio?
If I may start by saying, firstly, whenever there's any recording, when one person knows they're being recorded and the other doesn't, I immediately do not trust the recording. That's from the get-go. From the idea. From when one person knows and the other has no idea, that's For me to believe a recording, both parties have to be under the same impression that they either are being recorded or they're not. For me to really believe the interaction.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. It depends on the situation. Like the reason why I say that, there was it's like a famous American case. Brian Banks, the American footballer who was accused of rape, but didn't do it, and it was like her word. So he only got that little piece of that little recording, but the person speaking didn't know about it. So that is gathering evidence, and that's when you don't tell the person, because you're trying to get them to be as, to get them to say what they are saying. and admit to it. So that's why I say sometimes it depends when you're trying to set someone up, because obviously what they had was again, I think that's an agreement, and they looked like they were for all playing on the telephone or whatever. So that's why, as you say, there and then, it's that's a setup, but it can be used as evidence gathering to prove you're wrong, prove your innocence in a sense. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. When in this kind of situation, when somebody is recorded and not, it's then somebody's being played in a sense, and she was kind of leaning in a bit too more, saying specific words to get people triggered on.
Stop manipulating me.
Yeah,
I don't want to be choked. And even the way he's saying it, I'm not even gonna speak as though I know the relationship that they had with each other, because that's just one clip. But I know I mean,
it was deemed to be doctored. He said it's been doctored. He said that whole clip has been manipulated and whatever.
Yeah. So it's not like the whole thing. That's what I'm saying. So there must be.
If you take some things out of context that I've said to women I've been intimate with, I'll probably get sued too. Like, it's not.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm sure we've all done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And equally, same thing in reverse. I'm sure if you took some things out that would out of context,
that's very
that
true.
said to me, it'd be crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
No, but maybe it comes down to the age, because, like you say, maybe that was I can't see myself being mid-50s and being comfortable to be saying that to just the sound of her she sounded young. The initial sound of this girl, it sounded young. I was like, ooh, like the voice itself, you're like, oh, you know she's young. Like, if you're, let's come on,
like it's not even sexy. It's not even like a sexy voice. Like
that's what I'm saying.
Very
she's
immature
young.
and whatever.
Exactly. So I'm not really on. And then and then again, everybody's entitled to their own things, yeah. But like, there's different kicks. I'm just hearing red flag, because like, even as when he's in big self saying, "Oh, I'm gonna choke you ain't got a choice." Like, listen to who you're saying this to. Like, there's just, like you said, again, back to your point, Abby, it's right. There's no if he's not aware he's being recorded, then it's not true. She's obviously going to do things to magnify a certain type of encounter. But then it just, again, at the same time, he's an idiot. This is his fault. Because, again, you could have done this. Like, it really comes down to the fact that you didn't have a good enough MBA and you need a better manager. Because, come on, how many high-value people are doing this and not getting it wrong? Come on. It's literally just down to who you know. This is ridiculous. So it deserves to happen. It deserves to happen. Because, again, not only does he not have no friends around him that can't help him find somebody or do something better than this, he ain't got no entourage, no nothing there, and he's able to make it. So you're fine. Go and be free, bro. Go and be free.
Yeah, he slipped up on where
he didn't even had it, boy.
He kind of slipped up, and he should have covered all angles and never put yourself in a way to be recorded, like, having an argument on the phone with somebody, or because it can easily be manipulated, and it can make you look, and it's going to look bad on you. That's why. So if you're doing that kind of thing and you've got money and you've got a lot more to lose in that situation, even if you're buying it or getting service from an escort, whatever you want to call it, you can't leave yourself open to that. The memes were going in certain positions he was in, and it was getting funny and other things. So it's hard to come back, and but the thing is, it's put himself in such a position that it's hard for people to now realize what is the truth, because she could throw in a little bit of 20% to 30%, a bit of fabrication, and that maybe.
I don't think people care though, do they? They don't care.
Yeah. I think people made up their mind in the court of opinion. So you know what I mean?
Because all it really starts with is he's a nasty man, and then so anything after that, because I leave him
that's the big birdie black man.
Once he wants to sleep with a 19-year-old girl, and after that, everything else is just free reign.
They're gonna sway it, whether race wise, feminine or masculine wise, which is wrong, because it's not about that.
No, it looks like that though. It looks like that.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
yeah.
It doesn't look. It shouldn't be about race, and it shouldn't be about masculinity. But this girl sounds like she's 17, 16, 17, and she's probably, like you said, and she's 19. Okay, big difference. She's probably just 5 foot. He's over 6 foot and a linebacker, and listen to what they're encountering on. So yeah, unfortunately, just look at the evidence. That's what I'm saying. You have fallen into your. If you are at the scene of a crime with a knife in your hand and you haven't stabbed somebody, then that's still that's still on you. And he's put himself into this position where you're allowing yourself to be painted in this bad picture. Like there was again so many red flags here. Not just her voice, but he didn't stop to think, oh yeah, maybe not just have normal sex with this girl. Let me get into the mad role play. That's the other thing as well. Like maybe there's no moment when.
But apparently she wanted it as well. Apparently they're saying he's saying she wanted it as equally.
Prove it now. Where's the audio for that? Where's the audio for that? Because that's not what the audio says.
Yeah,
the audio's not saying that. Exactly.
That's another aspect as to why I say I don't kink shame. It's not just down to me saying everything is permissible and you can do whatever you want. It's literally just down to you also, because I'm never going to understand other people's desires. Do you know what I mean? He wants to do that. So I can't really say, because even when we were speaking earlier, you're saying that don't even sound sexy. Maybe it does to him.
To him, yeah, true.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
True.
It does
to me,
him,
that's not. But to him, yeah, that's true.
Nah, I hate the baby voice thing. That doesn't do it for me at all. So yeah, maybe he likes that, but it literally, I feel like we're all kind of saying the same thing, which is he just needed to be smarter and more for him. This is what it is. What happened to him? Because yeah, literally all the recipes for disaster were right there, and he just chose to go ahead with it. And then it also asks, or begs the question, how many times has he done this? And what, you know what I mean? He's got.
This is where and this comes to my next point. So now, some more have come out the woodwork. Some more have come out the woodwork now. At least one more has come out so far. So they're all going to prep themselves and go, right, I remember when he spoke to me. He was angry at me when I didn't pass him the salt.
Yeah, they're jumping on the bandwagon. That's what happens. They're jumping on the bandwagon. And it's going to become too much that way. It's going to cost
exactly.
Too much.
Yeah, but he created the bandwagon. He created the bandwagon.
Yeah, man.
Anyway.
It can be dangerous out there making your decisions in terms of your sexual acts and whatnot. But you get raised to be smart, and you got to be smart, and he just wasn't smart.
But you'd think as well, because he's known for having opinions about opinions. You know what I'm saying? Like he's known for just like, so you're thinking, so where is your compass then if you're, do you know what I'm saying? And we've all made mistakes. I'm not going to go on like we're not going to go on like we're wholly endowed on here. But, he has opinions. Just think, so where was your moral compass? There must have been some friend that is the same age as you said to you, look, bro, like, be careful, man. Like, this girl could be dangerous. And do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. The Holy Spirit got him.
Totally. Right, we got one more coming in. We got one more guy coming. We got Kof coming in, a Christian coming in. So just join the fray.
Are we going to go on to the next topic? Yeah.
I think I'll let him in anyway. I don't know if is he in? I'll let him in. I've admitted him. Maybe they want to come in. I don't know. Let me see if he's. Oh, here he is. Here he is. Hey, Christian.
Well, people, you good?
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm good.
All right, we got Nina full squad today. This is good. This is getting there.
All
right. So Christian, you haven't met Kadeem, you haven't met Carl. So you two, do you want to introduce yourself to Christian, please? Just and we'll do the same thing all the way around, obviously.
Hey, Christian, I'm Kyle. Oh, do I need to say more? Sorry.
We're gonna catch with something.
I'm a designer, creative director.
Cool. Yo, Christian, I'm Kadeem. I'm a drama therapist, youth worker, creative writer. Pretty much a bit of everything.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool,
handyman the works.
Cool bits.
Handyman the works, yeah, man.
My name's Christian. I work in we can say the healthcare, mental health, trying to help people get from A to B. I work with predominantly GPs refer clients to us, so I help them more of their they're social challenges. So it's not medical, it's not clinical based. It's more about, you know, what else is happening. So if there's no medication, what can we do for them? And that's what I do.
Yeah, big up.
Excellent. All right. So you missed out on the first talk, which is about Shannon Sharpe. So we're going to go on to the next one, which is we're going to feminism. Okay. So I'm going to read out what feminism is supposed to be. Okay. It's highlighted here. All right. So feminism is a diverse movement and philosophy that advocates for social, political, and economic equality between the sexes. All right. It encompasses a range of beliefs and actions aimed at achieving gender equality and challenging sexism. Feminism has evolved through different waves, each focusing on specific issues and goals. What do you think about that definition, first of all? Anyone can go first. Anyone can go.
I'll go first.
Go
It's a hard definition. I mean, it's hard to describe or come up with a single definition, because then no one is going to throw everything and anything into feminism and say that's what it means. Ultimately, feminism and the improvement of women's rights has changed with times, and has to, because the world is very different to what it was maybe 200 years ago. So things are going to have to change and keep up in a sense, and I think that's not just women. I think it's just for everybody, really, and for it to be a fair play field for all. Really, there's so many elements of it. I don't think you can say there's not many. You can't. When people say there's not many females in certain roles, you've always got to look at it on both sides, because there's not many females in certain roles to not many males in other roles. So I think it does come down to natural choice of people, excluding maybe how they're influenced maybe from childhood. But what are people naturally good at is what I think people should go into in this way too. Yes, you can learn stuff, and by all means do what you want to do. But feminism, it keeps to be changing, and people sometimes they view it in a negative way and portray it in a negative way. Feminism is about stopping men doing this to women, or allowing women to do this because men have stopped it in the past. That's not really framing it right, I don't think. And it just creates conflict between the two, which is what we shouldn't be doing.
Cool. We're going to come on to that. But the definition that you've got here that we just said, first of all, do you agree with it?
I'm sitting on the fence. I just can't say yes, I agree with it, or no, I don't. I say you could come to versions, yeah. So
all right, we'll come back to that. Why you're sitting on the fence and all that. Kof.
I think that definition is so long-winded. It doesn't need to be. You know what I mean? I think sometimes the kind of thing that really cheeses me up is when it's like you can just simplify things, right? Feminism is about making sure that women have the rights that they think they need to have, not think they have, but have the women's rights, and make sure that it's equal for everybody, right? And it's simple as that. You know what I mean? So that's what it should be. All of this, like, that's a very long terminology for it personally. Do you know what I mean? It's much more simple than that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what is masculinity, right? Masculinity is knowing your strength in a man. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we try and take all of this thing and we try and twist it around, because some women don't even like the term feminism. They don't like it themselves, but it's meant to be for you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, do you know what I mean? So I think I would agree with it, with what it's about and what it stands for sure. But I just think that particular terminology or that definition is just a bit long. It doesn't need to go with that person for me. That's all. You can just simplify things. Feminism is about women's right, women having their voice being heard. In politics, in film, whatever it may be. Right, simple as that. I think.
All right, Carl.
So I want to be extra. Could you read it again one more time?
Read it again, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So cool. That's cool. A diverse movement and philosophy that advocates for social, political, and economic equality between the sexes. It encompasses a range of beliefs and actions aimed at achieving gender equality and challenging sexism. Feminism in itself has evolved through different waves, each focusing on specific issues and goals.
If the question that you're asking me is, do I agree with that? Then the answer is yeah, I agree with that. I think it's necessary. in the society that we live in. So
Yeah.
I agree with it. If the conversation is more towards how feminism is enacted and how
Wait. Jump in. Kadeem.
You said socio-political, didn't you? You didn't say socio-economic.
It says social, political. It's a social, comma, political, and economic equality between the sexes. So it's not social.
But did it include but equality? But there was no economic.
Yeah, and economic. So the social, political, and economic equality between the sexes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. If that's the case, I agree with it. Yeah. Do I agree with it? Yes, for what it stands for. But I'm kind of, I'm gonna say that I'm kind of with you, Abby, and on the fence. But I'm with you, Kof, and I'm with you, Carl, because yeah, it doesn't need to be. You want the real talk? The real talk when you talk. If you come to me first, and my first response would have been, "It's too long." I switched off. I wasn't even listening. It's too long. It's a long day. It's a long day. Do you know how much I've heard? When it's talking to me about something that doesn't. Again, if you are defining something, it needs to be short and succinct.
Go in more detail if you want. There's more detail here, you know.
No. That's the problem. That's the problem.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm on the other side, man. I think it should be that long. I think when you're defining something as complex as that, I would expect the same thing for anything like Black Lives Matter, all of these types of things. They need a long-winded statement to kind of explain what it is and what it isn't. You know, because even the fact that you ask, does it include? I think you said social. What did you?
Socio-economic.
Yeah, you were asking, does it include that? The fact that you're even asking, is that in it or not, is the reason why they've had to state so many variables to decide what feminism actually is. And that's why I agree with it. You know?
I get what you're saying. I hear you. But I wouldn't have needed to start going into all of that if it didn't pose that nugget. And so part of the problem is that like you say, yeah, the definition, maybe there probably is. We need to hear more of it because there's not enough. And definition is the difference to debate. If there's a lot more there that it's saying or stating, is it stating a fact or is it throwing something up for discussion? Is it something that it's being a request or is it something that is defined? Because again, this is something where the longer the subject matter is, the more that there are holes to be cast aside or portions to people to decide against or with, and people lose actual focus of what the actual purpose is. Like you say, because initially, or maybe 100 years ago, was feminism as it is now in that definition, was it as robust? The same way as we have, like you say, understanding of trans rights.
It's probably just making sure that they can vote, and you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I mean, you even mentioned it's gone through various waves, isn't it?
Yeah,
because that's what I always get asked. If every time I'm asked, "Am I a feminist?" which I always say, "No, I'm not." And the reason I give is because I don't think Black women or Black people can afford feminism. But that's always my answer.
Hey, we're coming on to that. Don't worry, brother. This guy's coming with these things. That's why I wanted you on here. You know, you see you. Anyway, right? Did you know, guys? Did you know? I'm gonna read them out. Did you know there's 5 versions of 5 versions, not 4. 5 versions of feminism. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna read them out to you. All right. So, liberal feminism focuses on achieving equality within the existing legal and political systems. Radical feminism advocates for a more fundamental transformation of society, challenging patriarchy and gender hierarchies, which is probably what we know now as feminism. Socialist feminism analyzes the intersection of gender and class, arguing that feminism is essential for dismantling both patriarchy and capitalism, which is probably that and the one before. And then we've got Black feminism, which addresses the specific experiences of Black women, recognizing the intersection of race and gender in shaping their lives. And the last one is ecofeminism, which connects feminist and ecological concerns, arguing for a holistic approach to gender and environmental issues.
I've never heard of that last one.
Ecofeminism, yeah. in terms, so if there's 5 definitions of what feminism could be, and everyone will link to whatever, do you think the fact that there's 5 different definitions makes it harder for everybody in society to know what feminism is about? And that, because we know as men, sometimes we get it as the fact that it's against us, but what do you think that makes it harder for everybody to understand what the cause is and why people are thinking the way it is? Or is it, to Kadeem's point, it should be just simple and just be like, well, equality with just, with roles and pay?
Into the last one, there's too many groups. I still stand by that. There's too many groups, and that's where, because I'm the ignorant one. When you say feminism, I'm brandishing and washing everybody that was just covered in all of those subjects under that. Yeah, I'm thinking about equality for all in a political, a social, an economic, an environmental, a technological, a medical. That's my understanding of it across the board. I'm not breaking up where some people are saying, oh, I'm only looking for them to have political empowerment, and to be able to respond to the patriarchy, and everything else is I don't want them to have a say in that. And like you said in the last one, it just didn't come up. The just eco just came up in the last one. Well, what about everybody? Again, when you say, again, is it when you say black feminism, is that black and ethnic minorities or just black? When you were saying that, it makes me think well, why? Because when you say feminism, I thought about the whole thing, and I was like, oh yeah, that's true. The definition does kind of say that there is a bit missing, but ultimately, do we need to just maybe look at what is the core issue here? And maybe that's that we don't have, or we don't value, have a base value across the board.
Anybody?
I
see people's brains hurting right now.
No, not even. I think I don't know if I'm just going to come across as a contrarian on the.
No, go on.
No, good.
But with what you're saying, Kadeem, that's by design. The idea that we have various different ways of feminism, the fact that we have very different subgroups of it, is by design, because the fact of the matter is, feminism is like most other things, a movement, right? So it moves and it changes and it evolves with the time. And you can say that about anything. You can say that about civil rights movements. You can say that about the fight against colonialism. You can say that about various different things, right? They always change. There's various different people who have different mindsets and understandings of what it means and what they're actually fighting for. So I wouldn't really condemn feminism for having different groups and different sects that have different beliefs or things that they're fighting for, things that they think are important. Because that happens across the board. There's certain aspects of Black Lives Matter that I just don't agree, because I don't believe in abolishing the police. I've got probably the same issues with police as everybody else on the call, but that don't mean I think we should get rid of them. I think more intelligence behind what they do is a better approach than getting rid of them, right? And I say that to say there's aspects of, do I think feminism is necessary? Absolutely. I think there's many ways in which women are oppressed, and there needs to be movements to liberate them from certain things and push our society forward so that people can be in a better place. But yeah, there's a lot of aspects of feminism that I just don't agree with and have gone against me personally. And suddenly, even when you're talking about Black feminism, I'm sure I've encountered one who's told me that I'm the reason R. Kelly exists and things like that. So
wow.
Carl, let me ask you a question. So with all of that, and I hear what you're saying, and that makes very logical sense. But if there's 5, none of us knew about the ecofeminism stuff, right? If there's 5 different topics or headings and we don't get it, how women gonna get it, right? I'm saying, so sometimes
that was my point. Yeah.
And I think as Kadeem is saying, you can have feminism, but just if you're stand for feminism, it's one. But yeah, because you can have some women okay, I'm politically, I want this thing, but some women I want to be traditional. You can be both, but then you can't. Can you be feminism and still be traditional? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know. But I think sometimes we just, like I said before, I think sometimes we can just I think we can just overcomplicate and it's just too much, like that whole terminology feminism. Why can't it just be feminism, women rights in all aspects, bam, simple. Do you know what I mean? All of those different subheadings, just like you're fighting amongst yourselves, man. You know, and also, and I don't think feminism. I don't think it's against men. It's for them. That's fine. Like really, truly, I want women, right? That's great. That's great for all of us. No, my mother's a woman. Your mother's a woman. I mean, hopefully, I want them to have all the rights. That makes sense, right? But sometimes like I said, I personally feel like feminism, women fight amongst themselves sometimes. You know, because you got women who want to be traditionalists, right? You know, women who want to be traditionalists. You know, women who may want to stay at home, look after kids, that kind of stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You got some women there, oh, I want to run my business, I want to be the boss of all that, you know, and they're the ones that they're fighting the women's rights thing, right? So sometimes I think they can kind of argue amongst themselves personally. That's all. I don't know.
Sorry, so if I understand, the question you're asking me is why can't it be simple?
Yeah. That as well, and also because there's 5 different headings. Gavin was saying, like, if we are confused by it, then surely they got to be confused by it. Like, where do they fit into all of that? Do you know what I mean? Why can't feminism be one box? Feminism, one box. This is it.
So the answer that I'd give, if you're asking me why can't it be simple, is because it's not a two sides fits all in terms of what they're pushing for. And I'm not even, when I'm saying this, I'm not even just talking about feminism. I'm talking about any kind of, and even in the proof is in what you just said. You spoke about so many different things that women might experience, or the way that they navigate through the world, and how we would interact with them as men. So the idea that you'd be able to simplify it into one thing, which is, for example, if we just said our feminism is equality of the sexes, it wouldn't be that simple, because there are various situations where you don't want equality of the sexes, because it ain't going to work out well for either one of us. So you probably want more equity between the sexes. So because of that, that's why I understand what Kadeem was saying earlier about, you know, it gets too long-winded and people switch off and so on when the definition is too long. But I also think the same thing happens in reverse. When you oversimplify something, it allows people to just insert themselves in there and decide something else. Because I've even seen 2 feminists talk about a particular subject, and then one of the feminists has just gone, yeah, we just need to kill all men. And then the next one's looked at her like, no, I don't agree with that. You get what I'm saying? Like, and this is like they both just said they're feminists, and the other one just like, no, I don't agree with that. She's on her own. And it's because of things like that why you need these long-winded descriptions of what a movement is, especially considering, like I was trying to say earlier, by definition and by design, a movement is something that is ever changing and keeps going and changes with the time and has different battles and fights behind it, or different agendas or goals to achieve as time moves on. So it's never going to be a simple thing. Like any movement, no movement is going to be simple. Racism that was being fought 50 odd years ago is not what we're fighting now. The movement has changed. And I'm pretty sure if you asked 50 people from back then about the racism that we're fighting now, they probably say, you might know more racism. You
might don't know what it is, fam. You don't know what it is, fam.
There you go.
That's some idiot thing you're not talking about.
Yeah, I remember years ago trying to tell my granddad, I was in the office and somebody said that I speak very well. And you like, so look at all your faces. You're like, yeah, of course they said that. But my granddad was looking at me like, so you got a job? That's what you're telling me. He was like, he just didn't get it. He was like, well, you could play in the past. Yeah, you've got a job. You're in the office. You're doing fine. So
I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to jump out there. I'm going to jump out there. I have to side. It's true. This new age racism, but this new age racism that we're dealing with, that is not what our grandparents dealt with. I would much prefer to deal with the old school racism that our grandparents dealt with, because I think racism has evolved, and it is now this madness where it's so disguised you don't know where it's coming from. Because like you say, you explain that to your granddad now, and granddad's like, what are you talking about? You just got a job. And he don't understand that is now you're in the workplace with navigating the same madness that you would have been doing when you were on the walk home from school or walk home to your families. You see what I'm saying? So
let me just interject to your point. So both of you made. I was going to say something to your point, and you come in with yours. So I got something with your point, right? Do you? We talk about you brought in racism, and this is my bag now. Yeah, in my bag, right? In terms of this whole feminism thing, we know that some, like you said, Carl, that some women just want to kill all men and they do everything by themselves, right? But it's also an argument that one side suffers more racism than the other. Where do you stand on that? Do you feel like our journey, as in trying to rise up in business, is harder for us as men, or do you think it's easier for women, or do you think vice versa? What do you think?
You're asking me, do I think racism is harder on one than the other?
Yeah. Because it's something that I've constantly had conversations about with people.
My answer to that question would be, I think racism is easier to enact and more pervasive when we are discussing who has it worse. That would be my answer to that question.
You stand on the fence. You look at
you. It's not even a fence. It's not even a fence.
I'm not on the fence. I'm not on the fence.
I blame it on the corporate. I blame it on the corporate. That's what I'm saying. I blame it on that.
I'm not going to be on the fence. I'm going to go straight to the point. That
it's not a fence. It's not a fence. I'm literally saying no. It's not the fence. I'm literally saying.
I see what I mean by it, right? I see what I mean by it, right? All right.
Sorry, I cut you off there, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I cut you off as well, so sorry. But I tell you what I mean, right? So imagine we're all in the office, right? All we work in the office. All five of us work in the office, and Charlene is angry because somebody has used her milk, right? She goes, "Who's using my milk?" Shouts all over the place, right? Think about that scenario, okay? Think about that scenario. Charlene's black. She got up. People are going, "Ooh, yeah," but they're like, "Oh, okay, just Charlene. She's like that, yeah." Reverse the roles now. Black man now, sitting down, whatever. Someone's used his milk, and he goes, "Oh, who used my milk?" Who do you think is seen as more what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Aggressive.
Absolutely.
Or seen as offensive and as scary.
Who's in the room? Because if everybody in the room is white, female, and middle-aged, both of them.
I'm assuming everyone's white. I'm assuming everybody in the room is white. But I think the question you're asking is who would be
some Asians in there. I'll try and be it. Could be some Asians in there, bro.
In the scenario you just given, a man would be seen as more aggressive. That's just the fact.
Why is that?
Oh, because we're seen as predators and more aggressive, and we're seen as dangerous. So yeah, we're going to be seen as more dangerous than a black woman who's lost her temper. But I think taking one situation out of context kind of proves my point in terms of racism gets to prevail when we're wondering who's more
bringing the other. Okay, worse. I see.
And the reason I say that is because I could ask you now if both of us come to work in, clothing that is tight, who's going to have more of an issue, the black man or the black woman? I might get his shirt don't fit. She's going to be sexualized straight away. She's going to go through certain things and then, Harriet Tubman, all those kind of things straight away. And there's going to be a lot of racial connotations behind it. The moment that they sexualize her body as opposed to...
But also, that some black men get fetishized by the white women as well. So
absolutely. But then the question would be, which one is more dangerous? Me being sexualized by white women, or that black woman being sexualized for her body, which you can't control by everyone? Because let's face it, as men, we have a little bit more control over our sexuality than women. And that's why I'm saying the question that you asked me is, it's not me sitting on the fence, because I'm not the kind of person to sit on the fence over anything. I usually make a decision or say I don't. That's what I always say. When we as black people as black men and black women are wondering who has it worse, everybody who's enacting that racism against us win, because in both of those scenarios that you just gave, if I'm screaming and shouting because somebody drank my oat milk, all it takes is one black woman in the office with me to just take my hand and say, "Don't do that," and I'm gonna calm down.
Yeah. I've
All
heard that
it
before.
takes,
I've heard that
exactly.
before. I've heard that before.
If that black woman, if one black woman comes in the office wearing a pencil skirt, and all the white women want to talk about, oh, you go to the gym, or she's got a weave and her hair, and they're just like, oh, let me touch it. All it takes is me to just put my hand around her shoulder and say, hey, look, come over, let's just have lunch together.
Or not have a weave and let me touch it. How about that? Yeah,
either way, like all it takes is me to provide a safe space for her, rather than me just saying, oh, that's just one moment. I've got it worse. And that's what I mean when I say us discussing who has it harder just allows the racism to win.
Carl, that's a wonderful point, and I was gonna say, and I think Kadim, you said a little bit as well. I was gonna ask, because you said that racism is evolved and it's changed, and it has. But I was gonna say, but is it racism still racism? Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. It doesn't matter whether it was 100 years ago. Racism is still racism. You know what I mean? Yes, hopefully our mum and dad, our grandparents went through a lot worse than we did, but we still get racism. You know what I mean? Yes, we're in the corporate world. We're driving nice cars. We've got nice clothes, whatever. We still got racism. So racism is racism. And Carl, as you said before, yeah, you're right. I think if we can, in some cases, you can say black men maybe to get it more because of society and what have you. Black women probably get it from other black women. So that's even worse, isn't it? That's the kind of interracial stuff, So a light-skinned black woman or dark-skinned woman, for example, right? So, but I think ultimately, it's not a case of who gets it worse. It's racism wins either way, right? You know what I mean? So I think I'll definitely agree with what Carl said, because that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because I can say I'm a black man. I've had more racism, but I don't know. A black woman may have had more than me, but ultimately, racism is a winner, right? So
yeah. So let me take back my thing about you being corporate. All right? Yeah, great. Abby, we haven't spoken from you for a little while. You've been falling asleep over there. What do you think? What are your thoughts? I want to come to you after Kadim.
Yes, it's
I'm
hard.
sleeping in it. You didn't hear it.
No.
He's awake. Oh, okay.
Everything is in context, and you've got to obviously you've got to be in the room to hear it and see if it's offensive, because some things are slight underneath comments, and things are people being passive, really, basically, in a high degree. So it's one of those things which people can be very clever about it and be very suave with the words they use. They're offensive, but not offensive if people listen to it. You know what I mean? So it only affects you if you think of it that way. So then again, you've got to think to yourself, well, you may be the minority in the country, so people are going to be, if you look at it the black way, intrigued, like, want to touch your hair when you see how do you cut your hair, or all those kind of comments, and maybe you look at it from this side, you just don't know what black people do, or what how they are, even though you think we're in the 20th century. So it's not. It's a long way from being perfect, and if you want to get racism off the table, or a person's color on the skin, it's going to take generations to filter out, because it's not going to happen overnight. But that's my general feel on it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not sure if racism is ever going anywhere. Sorry.
Yeah, you never know. Cool. Well, where there's something to be gained by somebody else, racism's not going anywhere. Go on, Kadim.
I'm a double down on it, man. To answer your question, I think ethnic minority women, marginalized women, have got it the worst. And we're talking about that in the scale of things. Like, if we have an understanding of racism and a degree of racism as men, ethnic marginalized men, and like you say, we're talking about that strength, or that level of confidence that maybe allows us to be men, or to walk around at night, or to do these things that maybe would otherwise be second guessed by a woman. I think that's that. Let's take that for granted to how big an impact that has, and that is just another dynamic. Like I said, I'm happy for old school racism, because if somebody wants to go and throw some hands at me, I'm ready. I'm ready and happy to do that. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, but I wouldn't want the same thing. Or I wouldn't necessarily, if you are a female, you wouldn't necessarily encourage perhaps the same thing, or want the same sort of thing, or encourage that same kind of response. Perhaps, maybe I'm only saying that as the more dominant of a species in the physical sense. But I do think that where we are, women have marginalized women specifically have got it the worst in terms of the amount of discrimination against them, because they are ticking every possible box has been ticked in terms of the challenges that they have to face in pretty much every walk of life. Like you said, why are people asking you, can I touch your hair, just because they've done their hair differently? That's crazy. Listen to that. Like, that's what we've become so accustomed with. Whereas I'm like, no, I want to slap someone in the hand. I want to hit somebody in the throat, because this is ridiculous. You don't have me coming over to you and touching the pearls that you have on your necklace or the new ring on your hand and telling you, oh, you got some new jewelry, or you got some new teeth, you got some new dental work. This is crazy. We have come to accept a certain level of disrespect. That's what I'm saying. Like, someone should not be putting their hands on you, into your personal space, onto your person, because you've done something different with your appearance and that person is intrigued. That's crazy. This is madness. And I think, like you say, this only starts happening with black females, and marginalized females, when they go to the office and they've got a new look, they've got a new outfit on, and people are sexualizing them. People are labeling them as something else, or again starting to look at them as something, as opposed to just being a human being and minding your damn business, which is the big problem.
Can I ask you a question? But firstly, I want to make sure that it's important that you understand that I don't disagree with anything you just said. I think what you said is right in terms of what that can get through. But I think because the question was posed as who has it worse in terms of racism and who experiences it more. But the examples that you gave are more to do with women being the fairer sex, or the ones that need to be protected more, as opposed to if they experience racism more. Because that I agree with. Like, if we defeat racism tomorrow and black women were still experiencing racism, we haven't defeated racism. Right? That's what and whereas in reverse, if black women never experienced racism again and black men did, we kind of just shrug our shoulders and punch up anyone who just comes our way anyway. Do you get what I mean? So yeah, okay. I caution, or I'm wondering if what you're saying is black women do experience it more, or we just need to shine a light more on their suffering because they are women and our job is to protect them. Is that what you like? Which one is it?
No, but I agree with both of those points. But no, it's the former 100%, because like I say, let's use the job interview for example. I used to think differently until I heard this scenario posed. Like I said, if you're reading a CV for something, you read the CV, and then when the person comes to the door, there's a certain level of surprises that somebody's going to be hit with. Yeah. So if somebody comes to the door and you see Tom Smith is the name of the person, and that's a white male, you might be quite expectant of a white male. But then if you see a black male come through the door and his name is Tom Smith, you might be quite surprised. But then if you see a white female come through the door, you might be quite surprised, but still be happy to conduct the interview. Maybe not with the same level of surprise. Whereas if it was a black female who comes through the door as Thomas Smith, from all of the categories, typically most people would say they wouldn't like to be the last. And for whatever reason that would be, because there is known that you are, not only do you have the same prejudice and discrimination against all the other groups, but it's all combined into one. And I think we're still in a position, and we can see it in media today, where we would rather see Trump hit another term than a black female. So it just supports that there's the level of racism that's there, or prejudice against as well, that's there, is mad still.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think with Kamala, the political landscape in America is just all over the place at the moment.
Yeah,
and I think she, even if, because remember she was appealing to a lot of the feminists, right?
Yeah.
And the feminists couldn't even get her over the line. So, and there's more women than men. So, what does that tell you about the state of America's political system? Do you get what I'm saying?
I'm not sure that she won. She lost because, sorry, I don't know if we're going off on a tangent there, but I'm not sure that she won. Okay, I'm not sure that she lost because obviously there's an aspect of it.
No, I'm not saying entirely because of that, but I'm saying that she was appealing to that was her thing. That was her thing. We're we're women. We're gonna get through this. Push us over. Marginalized women. Let's all go together. Let's, you know what I mean?
But to bring it full circle, I'm sure there's loads of feminists who voted for Trump, and but this is the point when we bring it full circle, where we're talking about why there's such a big definition of what feminism is, or why it is, because I'm sure I saw some interviews of women saying that they voted for Trump for socioeconomic opportunities for women. For them, they said the economy will be better, and then they'll have more opportunities for themselves, which will impact them as women and allow them to gain more independence. And that's why you have different sets of a particular movement like feminism. That's why you had those 5 groups in the first place, because there's feminists who be like, Kamala Harris needs to be in the White House because she's a woman and she'll just fix everything. And then you've got other feminists who be like, we need the economy to be strong so that we as women can rise up and do what we need to do. So yeah, that's why there's even those different groups in any movement. There's everybody's got different agendas or different things that they think are important.
No, excellent point. So all right, so just to cap this off, right? There were 5 waves of feminism that's happened. Okay, all right. The first wave is primarily focused on gaining suffrage, the right to vote, which you said before, and other political rights for women. Yeah, that was the simplest definition you said, right? Second wave expanded the focus beyond suffrage, addressing issues like reproductive rights, workplace equality, and ending violence against women. Okay. Third wave emerged in the 1990s, emphasizing diversity, intersectionality, and more individualized approach to feminism. Yes, where it starts to break off into those 5 different things now, yeah? And the fourth one is characterized by the use of social media and online activism, focusing on issues like consent, sexual harassment, and body positivity. Yeah? So my next question to you guys, okay, and I'm gonna play a little clip to go with it, okay, all right. With all the stuff we've said, all right, in mind, right, we have some really good points, and I thank you for them, guys. It's a really good conversation. Does feminism, and you've alluded to it as well, Mr. Carl, I'm spoiling my thing, but does feminism itself mean that the male's position in the world has to diminish?
No.
Why?
Why would it? Why I don't think it, like, as I said before, I think feminism, and I think we've all alluded to it at some point, we all agree that it should be there and for what it is. Yeah, I just think it's a bit of a long-winded answer, or question even, or statement. But I don't think men should feel that they have to.
Some men are feeling that. Some men are feeling like there's an agenda to eradicate the male toxic masculinity, the male dominant gene that we're supposed to have.
You see, I think that's what I said before. I think sometimes they you know, there's like an agenda, right? And they want to say, okay, everything is femininity, right? Well, let's push that forward, right? And then, you know, it's like nowadays, right? A man, like a gentleman, will say a lady, and he won't even talk to her no more because they won't feel like it's almost like the women feel like, oh, you know what I mean? Women's like men. It's what I've heard. Men don't even report to women no more. Just that thing, like, you know what I mean? Just they can't do it no more because women, like, they're so like, oh, you know. So it's just that. So I think sometimes when you're fighting so much against the feminine agenda or the rule, or, you know, I for men who feel that, oh, I can't be a man, that's like, well, that's you kind of de-escalating yourself, really. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's that deep personally for you. If you're a man and you're confident in yourself and you're confident in your role, and you treat your woman, if you're a woman, with respect, and anybody with respect, shouldn't be an issue, right? Do you know what I mean? You know, I think sometimes that might be of a self-esteem for some men, really. Do you know what I mean? But within that, there's also a lot of women who also are not traditionally into the whole feminist thing anyway, right? As I mentioned before, you know, the different categories, different kind of groups, right? So they're not all gonna pretty much follow that kind of shit. And as Carla said, you probably got loads of women that did vote for Donald Trump, right? Because they're not with all of that. Sometimes they just want a man to take control of things, possibly, right? But still fly the flag for feminism, but they're not really feminism. That makes sense, yeah. So, but for me, I don't think any man should have to feel like he is beneath.
You have to diminish himself.
Yeah. That's my point.
Abs, what do you think?
I think it shouldn't be the case. Men are being brought down for women to come up, if that's the way you want to see it. But it shouldn't even be thought of in that way. It's creating opportunity for all, really, and letting individuals choose. So, because I can see it in a way. I've seen some instances. I mean, just, you know, maybe now the women say it's our time now. We're gonna bully the men or put them down or whatever. It shouldn't be.
We're gonna take over.
Yeah, it's just nobody should be wanting to take over. We are both needed, and you got to understand the differences between two, and you know, they have to complement each other in any way. So it shouldn't be bringing down one or, you know, for the other. It should be always, you know, everyone should be coming up, and ultimately, yeah, women have had their rights suppressed for various reasons. Times have moved on. Things have changed. The environment has changed.
In the Western world, at least.
Technology has changed, and I think people have accepted and sort of identified where there's discrepancies and, you know, roles of people. But some roles are fundamental to the sexes or genders, and also technology is taking away some roles of people. You know. Now it's down to a machine. You know, factory workers are not mainly men in there and taken away by robots. So, you know, things are evolving a lot. So it's just about recognizing people's differences and accepting people do things differently. Not sure you're bad when they do it differently. It's just, you know, you can still get to the same answer, but it's going to be different. Yeah.
Cool. Kadeem, so you work with young people, yeah, as do I. Are they feeling any of this whole they have to diminish themselves because feminism, you know, as a veil is kind of taking over?
Yeah, I think a lot of young people, like that whole point of toxic masculinity, I think they're falling into those kind of tropes. A lot of young men, they're angry. They're very angry at the world, and seeing as there's so much debate about females and women in the world, they seem to be angry towards women because they I don't know, there's a sense of inequality, or there's a sense where there's so much voice on the other side that young people don't think, especially young men, they don't think they've even got a chance. They're not even bothering. They're not even bothering to get out of bed. They're not bothering to do more than smoke a couple of J's. They're not doing anything but playing 10 hours or 12 hours or 15 hours of video games a day. They don't see the point because, again, maybe that's because of a lack of positive role modeling. And I'm not saying that to say that there's not enough role models. I'm saying that there's not enough role models of people in positive places that look like people to match the diverse landscape that we have nowadays.
Mm.
If you are, I don't know, we can have a rainbow of diversity nowadays, but is there a rainbow of role models to go with it? No.
Mm.
Is there, if you turn on the TV, you ain't seeing that, you're going to see a certain type of role model, but you ain't going to see if you go on social media, you're going to see a certain type of role model, but you're not going to see somebody that's for all or enough people for all. And that's probably part of where the problem is. I think young people are just very angry because they don't necessarily see a future that represents them. And that it's all very well and good, like you say, that there's this person that has maybe amounted or accrued to this level of success or fame, but there's no talk about the people that are doing it now from the bottom in this world and landscape where you are, I don't know, 16 years old, unqualified, and starting from the bottom. There just isn't, there aren't enough role models who you can see in both the public or the private corporate sector, or people that have escaped are not coming back to do that work and to show the benefit of coming out and doing that. They say,
yeah, they can. That we've climbed the ladder.
that there is
you can achieve it, and you can whatever.
Exactly.
And
Most people have achieved and gone. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're waving.
They're going in their nice picket fence house and whatever. All right. Before I come to you, Carl, I'm not blanking you out. I'm going to play this clip, right? I'm not blanking you out. Don't worry. I'm coming to you. Don't worry, man. Don't worry. Not getting no. You're not going nowhere. All right. Again, guys, this is amazing, right? Can you see this? Let me know you can see it. Yeah. All right. All right. This is it's a lady called Christine Ember, right? I'm gonna play this particular part. It's a little bit meaty, all right? But I'm gonna get your thoughts on it, okay? When you ever watch. Let me know if you can hear it. If you can't, like wave your hands or something. Oh no, I'm on the wrong screen. Hold on. There we go.
So, what are the trends that have led men to struggle in this moment? I think that there are three key areas where we can clearly see that men are struggling, perhaps even, yes, in crisis. Our labor market has changed over the past several decades due to globalization and deindustrialization. We have now moved towards a more credentialed favoring economy where things like brute strength aren't as valued as they used to be. Some of the jobs and areas that used to be fairly male-coded, male-centric, safe areas for men to work, the industrial sector, etc., are now kind of gone. And many of the men who used to be in those spaces are no longer there. We're seeing a drop in employment in men, especially young men. In fact, men ages 25 to 34 are among the groups that have dropped out the most from the labor market, which is surprising because these are prime working age men. Then we're seeing issues in education. Obviously, Title IX was a good thing, and it allowed many more women into the educational sphere. But now you're seeing a sort of flip from men earning most of the college degrees to women doing the same. There was a huge decline in college enrollment during the pandemic, and looking back at the numbers, 70% of the dropouts are men. And then you get to the domestic sphere. Stagnating wages, labor market participation, and falling educational rates have downstream effects in domestic life. 34% of young women approximately say that they're single. Nearly 63% of young men say that they are. More women than men say that they're finding trouble finding a partner, so men, who live up to their standards. You also see a little bit of destabilization in traditional roles in relationships. When you think of kind of traditional relational arrangements where there's one higher earner and one lower earner, that perspective has also shifted over time too. Almost 50% of women say that they earn as much as or more than their partner, which is a huge shift from just a few decades ago. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, in the same way that women overachieving in education is definitely not a bad thing. But they have provided a sense of destabilization. Perhaps a feeling the world isn't exactly as it used to be, and men are struggling to find what their place is in the new arrangement. So I also think about the number of men who seem like they've just disappeared from society. These are men who are known as NEETs in the sort of wonky parlance, not in education, employment, or training. So what are they up to?
Create content for people and search engines with SEMrush SEO Writing Assistant. Get your copy SEO ready.
Well, it seems like they're on the internet. Many of them are at home, sort of pouring out their woes to these online forums, whether it's incel forums or men going their own way discussion groups, where they talk about how dissatisfied they are with life and how it feels like the world has wronged them. Then you're seeing a lot of men playing video games, frankly, instead of engaging with the world. And that's actually compelling in understandable ways. It does seem like gaming gives you the opportunity to achieve goals or achieve success in a way that might not be as visible in the real world if you aren't able to find fulfilling employment or if you feel like you're left out of other societal pursuits. You also see men following what I term manfluencers. People like Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, and Joe Rogan, who I think are sort of stoking their sadness and fears while telling them that the world is what's done them wrong.
Okay, guys. All right, I'm gonna stop there because it's a really good video, right? I'll send it to you. I'll put it in the group if you guys want to watch it. Okay. But let me just get back to my screen. Here we go. Okay, so anyone want to go first? What do they think about that video, first of all? And were they surprised by some of the statistics and stuff like that? It's a little bit similar. Although, like, I think a lot of the statistics are from America. I think it's the Western world in general. Anybody want to talk about the video, what they saw so far? Abby, yep, go.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot packed in the video. And I suppose with these kind of videos, a lot of buzzwords, keywords thrown in there. I don't think it's entirely accurate and summed up right. Some things make sense, obviously, naturally, but there's a lot packed in, and I think it's done.
Abby, wait. What is not accurate? You got to be there. What is not accurate? Let's go for it. Go for the regular.
You say a lot of guys are in, like, for example, a lot of men that are in their room playing their computer games, and they see that as a way of success. That it's putting a bad image on people that play games in their room, and saying it makes you like you're a loner. You don't have any social world or whatever. So that's why I think phrasing it like that is not entirely accurate, because you could say men generally would have a console more than a woman would have, but the same way, some women would have consoles or some sort of gaming console. But the way it's framed, it was making it more one-sided. And if you're a gamer or admit to being a gamer or something, then you're seen as someone who's a social, antisocial person. You're not doing anything. You haven't got no girlfriend. You're just playing games online and all that sort of thing. So that's why I think it's a bit persuasive in the way, for example, that is described along with other things. Some things are true because, for instance, some jobs are there that were there maybe 20 to 50 years ago, whatever. And that's again through changing technology and need and changing the world. So that's why some things are.
Wait, hold on. Wait, we've got a hand raised there. All right. Yeah. Go on, Chris.
No, you know what? No, I was gonna say I can see that I think Carl was cooking. Carl's ready to cook in it, so
I know he's chomping at the bit. I can see his face. He's chomping at the bit. He's like,
Carl is ready. Carl is ready, isn't it? So yeah. I was gonna say that. I said that when you like, don't forget your point, because I think you're gonna say something, but and then you put a video on it. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah. For real. I should have came to you.
But let me get back. Let me get back. I'm thinking some of the stats. I mean, again, when they say stats are always persuasive in how you see them, and you've got to look down into numbers. And in any way, I always, I don't take. You can make stats say almost anything to prove your point, and that point could be a 0.1 difference in some pool of 100, and oh my god, that means everyone's swayed that way. But that's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of generous things, and then there's a lot of other things which are very true. But you know, you've got to be careful on like of what you're saying. You know, is it entirely true or is it persuasive? Because, you know, obviously if you were to ask the general question, are men doing better education compared to women? And most people, I would think, would say women are doing better, because that's what's been you know, drummed in the media and everywhere where you see it. It's not to say that it's a bad thing that women are educated, but you know, we've got to say true what's going on and why, because you know, you can't just look at one aspect of it. And it's not an argument anyway, because everyone wants to make a debate of it. You've got to be always looking to balance the world where necessary, because you can say, yeah, more women are in education because there's more women in the world. So that's always going to be the case. So you could argue that. So what are we trying to actually say, and why? What are we actually trying to do? So there's a lot packed in. Yeah, it's very clever. You know.
All right.
But you know, I think you've got to be on both sides and not be persuasive. You can ask, you know, who made you liberal, or don't forget you're going to go into that kind of realm of politics. So yeah, but yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. All right, Kyle, come on then. I made you wait for a long time. Let's go. What did you think of the video, and did you agree with any of the stats? Did you agree? The video was actually entitled "The Disappearance of Men." So let's go.
I think I forgot all my points now. No, I'm joking.
You better write them down.
Couple things. Well, there was something I was going to say before the video and after. So I guess I'll just caveat with, on the video part, I agree with pretty much everything that it said. But at the same time, with what Abby's saying, I understand the idea of persuasive content and the idea that you can make statistics look any which way you want.
Yeah.
No matter how you break them down. So what I'm saying in terms of agreeing with what it said is literally just diving into my anecdotal experiences and conversations I'm having with other men, as opposed to it sticking percentages in my face. That kind of stuff just goes over my head a lot of the time. Because you know, a survey on are men happy? How do you measure happiness? You know, so those things don't really appeal to me. But before I got into that, what I was going to say was one thing was, when you were talking about the waves of feminism, I think whenever those kind of conversations happen, I think what is more important to discuss is how those waves came about and why they stick around, and what mediums and channels are being used to spread particular ideologies, right? So in the beginning, when you're just talking about women getting the vote, let's be honest, there was a bunch of women who got together in the street, and it was easy for them to have one mind and one understanding of a goal and go for it and march for it. You know, and as time goes on, as technology goes forward, I'm going to skip through the two ways that came after that and go to the last one that we have now, which is more on social media platform, where pretty much everybody has a voice, whether you're stupid or not. And so what you have, whether you're stupid or not, and I'd go even far to say is, with social media, what you have now is the sillier your opinion is, the more likely you are to actually get traction, which is what is causing a lot of young people to be exposed to things that they're not mature enough to understand, and is causing a lot of the young boys to see things that they can't process, and also these young girls can't process. And that's why I think young people are as angry, or young boys are as angry as they are right now. Because, you know, when you see in your peers, like young girls your age, saying, I don't date brokies, you know, is when you're, do you know what I mean? When you're 16 years old, because I remember I was talking to my friend's young brother the other day, and I was asking him about, you know, dating and stuff like that, and where the girls want to be taken. And he's telling me about Novikov and things like that. And I was like, how do you even know what those
About
things
what? Say
are?
again? About what?
Novikov.
What's that?
What? No, boys. What is this? I don't know about this.
Like a Hakkasan, a sexy fish,
Oh, right, restaurant.
all of those, yeah, all of those restaurants.
Okay, fancy
He's
restaurants.
saying
Yeah,
things-
okay.
exactly. And then I was saying, bro, what happened to trying to move speech to a girl whilst listening to Latino music over the Nando stick when, you know, you're trying to spit bars, and the waitress comes over and say, "You happy with your meal?" and then sticks her hand in the middle of it to take the Nando's thingy out. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. You know, going up to the till, hoping that she don't want two sides, all of those kind of things. That's what we were raised in. But what's happening now is they've just been exposed to things that they're not mature enough.
They concern them. They're not concerned them
They
yet.
don't concern them. Yeah. So, you know, when you like, it's
adultification of young people, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think that's what's giving rise to a lot of the anger and the rage that young boys are feeling. And that's not to excuse them in terms of the fact that they are enacting, they're acting these things out in ways that they shouldn't, that somebody should be, that grown men like us should be guiding them away from. So that's what I was going to say in terms of that. In terms of the video, I agreed with most of what it was saying, only because it's very obvious that the idea of what it means to be a man has changed, or what is expected of him has changed. And we're having a hard time keeping up. It's that simple.
So I caveat that. Also, I would caveat that it's changed from the woman's perspective, I would think, more.
But who are we being men for, though, really? Yeah, I agree with that. But who are we being men for, though? Because I ain't trying to be a man for no other man, really. Like,
well,
you know,
that's a good point. I think you're actually right. It's a good point, because you must be being a man for man, and they're being not in that way, but a man for men around you, and for the women, obviously. So in a sense, you could say it's for both, because looking at other men, you kind of make other men fall in line, if you know what I mean, to a certain degree. Or
I'd agree with you, if not for the fact that we're not. I don't think as men we compute things as manliness between each other. I don't say that man is a man because he's more violent than me or can beat me up. I say he's just more violent than me. That just is what it is. Whereas women will actually look at you and say, "Yeah, that's a real man." Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. No man can tell me I'm not a real man. So that's what I mean when I say it's changed according to them. The same way we have the ability to dictate what a real woman is, which is why so many of them are going off to the BR trying to get whatever they're doing to their bodies to come back and look a particular way, because we've had an influence on that. We've decided that, this is what we like and this is what gets our attention, and they've heard it and thought that's what they need to do in order to get it. Right? That's what's happening. Like, we have influence and impact on each other. But going back to my point, like the idea of what a man is has changed, and we are struggling to keep up as men. And what they were talking about in the video, as in terms of the shrinking sectors or job sectors that are shrinking, that were specifically for men, like they showed welding and scaffolding and things like that in the video, is right. Those things are disappearing because they're being taken over by robots, or they're just going up quickly, and you don't really need to be doing them. And then that has a knock-on effect in terms of who's the breadwinner, and then what does the breadwinner look like, and how much does it take to be classified as breadwinning. And then not only that, there are a lot of women who are making what would be considered boss moves by getting educations and being entrepreneurs and having businesses, which is what they should be doing. Whereas in terms of role models, in terms of what we are looking for, in terms of what we aspire to, we were taught by armchair dad that all he had to do was earn money, come down and sit down in the house and read the paper or watch the 6 o'clock news, and didn't have to be really involved in anything. And suddenly we've been told that we've got to be emotionally available and do this, that, and the third, and nobody taught us about that. And even if you are, and then not only that,
stereotype.
I'm definitely speaking in stereotypes. Yeah, I'm definitely
yeah.
speaking in stereotypes only because I can't speak for every single man, because I happen to think I'm quite emotionally intelligent and I have no interest in being an armchair dad. I'll be very involved in my family's life if I had one. But generally speaking, I didn't have anybody to show me that. I had to figure that out for myself, that that's what I wanted to be, or that I'm interested in those things. So what that has done, I think, is left a space or a chasm, if you will, for people, young men, and I mean young grown men, to look to social media for guidance. And then that's where your Andrew Tates come in, your Jordan Petersons, your you know, what was his name, Kevin Samuels, and all of these people come in, because really and truly, if we all got together and actually was honest and said, what does it actually take to be a man now? I don't think any of us would really understand or have a definitive answer. Whereas our parents had a definitive answer. Our fathers and our grandfathers had a definitive answer. It's the man who goes out, goes get checked and bring it home. Whereas we can't say that anymore.
So this is the thing about saying why these two sections are linked. Is it the quote unquote feminism that has changed that whole notion of, you know, we spoke about before, Kof, in our podcast before, about what is a man and what is their role within a relationship in terms of men and women and in society. So do you think this, the feminism, I'm doing inverted commas, that has created that or started that off? Because to me, sorry, Kof, there's some ladies, right, will say that although your grandma or your granddad stayed together for 50 odd years or whatever, 40 odd years and whatever, women will argue, some women will argue that was an oppressing time for the woman, because the woman was at home, staying at home, looking after the kids. The man was out doing what he was doing, and also he might have had a Felicity or a Sally, on the side, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, what do we think about that? What do you think?
It's funny. I was gonna say before, because Kadeem alluded to everything that woman said before the video came up. Do you know what I mean? Because he's talking about, and he's in that field, like, especially with the black men. So it's interesting because Kadeem, you're in that field, right? And you see, you are a role model yourself, because often you see the young black men come in, and just said, you know what I mean? Yeah, you too. Come on, you know that. But it's funny because sometimes when you see that, because sometimes we are in roles or places where we see that, you can see that the young kings are broken already, right? And Kadeem, I said, man, you come in and it's the black boys, they've lost hope already. Like, you're at 16, 17, 18, 19, you lost hope already, which is quite sad, because my son is 19 and I don't want him to ever think like, oh boy, there's no opportunities out there for me, which is quite sad. Gavin, coming to your point, possibly, I mean, I think we've all alluded before, times are just changing. It's not our mum and dad's time no more. It's not even our grandparents' time no more. It's our time, right? Or it's even our kids' time, for those of us who have kids, right? In the sense that, yes, everyone's their rights equally, which obviously should be the case, right? But like I said, now women these days, as you said, Carl, women are making boss moves, isn't it? But do you have to be the boss as well to make a boss move? Like, can you not, like, and if as you as a woman, if we're talking about the feminism thing, if you as a woman are loving your femininity, that's okay, but like, do you have to trust a man as well? Do you have to earn more than a man? This is
the question I was trying to say.
If you do earn more, if I'm with a lady, right, and she earns more than a man, good for you. You do you, but don't make me feel like, you can't get more than me. Like, don't do that. Do you know what I mean? Because I think something that can happen sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
But that's because of what it was born out of. And by the way, I'm not making any excuses, because I'm not a fan of the whole I make boss moves and I'm doing it better than men can. I'm not a fan of that. But I understand where it comes from, because you have to understand a lot of these boss moves, as we're calling them. The whole point of them is that they did it in spite of the same way we as black men will say, you know, I'm a successful black man in spite of. So a lot of the time it is, now I've got to shine, I've got to buy this and I've got to buy that and make sure everybody knows that I'm successful because I shouldn't have been successful from where I came from. It's the same thing with women. They'll do it. I did this in spite of the fact that I'm a woman and, you know, trying to keep me from opportunities, which a lot of men did. Historically speaking, of course, not like us and us now. So that's where that comes from. It's misguided. It's definitely misguided, but there's a reason that it happened, and that's what it is. It's about the in spite of. You know?
Kadeem, what do you think? Oh, sorry, you finished. Sorry, Carl.
Oh well, no, sorry. The only other thing. Sorry, did I cut you? Sorry, did I cut someone off when I was speaking?
No, you didn't. You didn't. I was making sure you get your points.
And the only other thing that I was going to say is when you were speaking about past in terms of people using older generations as to saying, oh yeah, but those women weren't happy and so on and so forth. I'm tired of hearing that. And the reason I'm tired of no, there's a reason because people romanticize like older generations, aspects of older generations' lifestyles just to suit their point. And I realized this. I realized this when one thing happened. I remember I was in a discussion with a bunch of people, and this girl came forward and said, basically, that she said, "Oh, like women were oppressed. Like your grandma didn't really want to be with your granddad, and this, that, and third, and so on and so forth. You know, she couldn't have her own bank account, and this, that, and third." And I was like, "Okay, fair enough. You know, fair enough." And then we were speaking, and 15 minutes later, we were talking about men and how, you know, they don't move to women or they don't know how to treat women. And then this same woman just turned around and going, yeah, but that's because the men knew how to treat women back in the day. And I was like, hold on, how did we? And then I realized what people do was take a past experience that they were not a part of just to use it to further their agenda. And the point is, none of us were there, so we get to use it however we like to further our point. And that's why, so whenever I have these conversations, I only really talk about the here and now, my experiences. I can't really speak about what my grandparents went through or what their grandparents went through. Because really and truly, we're never going to know. Like, we're never actually going to know, unless my grandma or my granddad sits there and told me exactly what happened. And even then, they're probably telling, you know, a very
a biased version, yeah.
Exactly. We weren't there. So that's why a lot of the time when it comes to what happened, I don't always, you know, gel with that.
I mean, a lot of those times, a lot of the things that why they had to bond and why the lady would be subservient to the man was out of necessity. You know, at the time, you know, you had to come together and you had to. This is what I'm trying to bring to you guys. Like, is that wrong? Is that the whole thing of feminism or the aspects of feminism that we said that is about taking over the patriarchy? Is that the part is that got to, you know, because there's two parts to the feminism, the five parts of feminism, right? That is about the patriarchy. Are those two parts now overcome everything else? Do you think it's taken over all the other aspects now, and that's why we have those views of those women saying what they're saying? What do you think, Kadeem?
I think we're in a stage now. I think I've got to come back to Kyle's point. Really, we can only speak for. I think what's lost in all of this is that these campaigns, these movements recognize a shared experience, but all of our experiences are unique. Like, so pulling up somebody's, like you say, in the past, using that as that previous, somebody else's previous trauma to help them push their narrative is not correct. It's not what people should be doing. But we should be, and that's stopping us from growing. That's helping to cause divide. But by actually saying and recognizing that actually I have a mutual, empathetic, cathartic understanding of that person's issue. Because this is an issue that I experienced where the same emotions were triggered or engaged for me, then that helps to understand. That will show that person that they understand. So, like, there's nothing worse than, I've done work with lots of people who have been victims of sexual abuse. And there's nothing worse in a group where one person says, after they've had a disclosure, they've taken the disclosure, and somebody else in the same room says, "Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I get it. I get that." And it's just like, well, actually, you can't get that. you can't get that because that you're not that specific person. You can have an understanding, or you could try to understand, but you don't wholeheartedly understand and get that. Yeah. And so I think I think, like you say, like coming back, like what I say about Kyle's point, because being a man, like there, that was I don't think there's a specific role or a specific shape or archetype, or it's complete. I think it's a constant journey, but it isn't one specific role. I think all of us in here went through a journey that then qualified us to become men. But whether or not that journey would have been the same, it's different. But again, different things and different experiences can get you to the same point, but it doesn't mean that it was the same journey. You can have the same outcome with a completely different journey. And I think that's where I kind of stand and sit with it. We need to kind of have a bit more respect for people's individual experiences, and not kind of get rid of those as quickly. But yeah, yes, Carl.
So not that I want to dominate the conversation, but I wanted to.
No, Carl, it's fine, Carl. You're doing well, Carl. It's fine.
All right. So to what you were saying, Nadeem, about individual experiences and there is no right way to be a man and so on and so forth. I was I think it was today because I was having a conversation with somebody. I was talking about the paradox of choice, or what you could call like the burden of free will. This idea that you get to be whatever you want, and how much pressure that actually is for you to just define things for yourself and actually have no archetype or understanding of what it's supposed to be. And I think what we're seeing now, I would make the point that what we're seeing now is individuality or individualism is taking over so much that we're actually seeing the negative effects of it. And this idea of, not to ruin what the other points are in this conversation, but the idea of, you know, what is even gender now? This idea that you're not even, are you a man, are you a woman? These kind of things are happening, when in actual fact, there actually does need to be a specific path or a specific understanding of a particular thing so that you can aspire to it or decide you want to reject it and do something else. And I don't think we have that now.
Yeah, you know, I think it's gonna
too crazy. And as a result, I think everybody's lost and doesn't actually, and then again, it allows people to enter into to be influencing, such as your Jordan Petersons, your Andrew Tates and so on and so forth. You know, it leaves a wide open gap for them to come in and influence these people because they just don't know what's what. Because I know that there's a whole focus on the manfluencers and whatnot, but the same thing's happening in the reverse. Like, because I see a lot of, like, what's that woman's name? The Slumflower girl who said, you know, men should kill themselves because they create patriarchy and all those kind of things. It's the same thing in reverse. And there's a bunch of women who was online is telling you how to get money from men and how to make them pay for everything and accessing the divine feminine. It's the same thing. Ultimately, all it boils down to is how can you best exploit the opposite sex? Really and truly. And it's wrong. And really what it just boils down to is nobody actually has the original plan for what are you supposed to navigate. You know, when our parents were growing up or our grandparents were growing up, it was simple. You go to school, you decide to get a job, you work in that job for 30 odd years, you have 2.3 kids, you retire, and then you pay off your mortgage, and then you die peacefully and your legacy continues. Whereas we don't have that anymore. And some people would argue, yeah, that's a great thing because we've broken the mold, but I think I would argue that it's a bad thing because nobody knows what the actual path is. So they don't know whether they're supposed to reject it or go for it. That's what I think. Which
could be by design, by design in the first place, you know?
And I mean, Yeah, I agree with that, and I'd even go as far as to say, not to circle it back to race. As with many things, when things aren't going right in society, they always affect Black people in the worst way, simply because we don't have the social mobility or access to social mobility to change our circumstances or reject what's happening. We just get affected by whatever's happening. And right now, the fact that there is no plan for what a standard lifestyle is supposed to be or what a standard family is supposed to be, we're suffering the most for it. Do you know what I'm saying? The idea of there's no breadwinner in the, or that we don't know if a man is supposed to be a breadwinner or not, or how much a breadwinner is supposed to earn. Equate that with the fact that Black men
No, Carl. You're supposed to have a 6-figure, job, start with a 5, and with a load of zeros. Don't you know that?
Everyone earns 6 figures. We all know that. But that's the point. Like, the fact that we already, as Black men, struggle with earning our earning potential anyway, hearing that from women in general is going to make us more angry than other types of men anyway. So then what happens is, what's happening across the board with this gender wars affects us worse. And then you get Black women who are saying they can't find a Black man, when in actual fact, the Black men are just angry at the fact that, you know, things are being said to us that seem to affect us more. And they're like, well, Black men don't like us anymore. And we're like, that's not true. And then nobody's listening to each other. When in actual fact, all it just boils down to is that these social situations are affecting us more than everybody else.
And there's also, to your point as well, sorry, Kadeem, I know I'm coming to you. But to your point though, right, Carl, there's also the vein of Black women who will say that Black men are lazy. Yeah, they don't inspire themselves. They don't aspire to be as good as you know. They're not as enterprising as some Black women have been.
It's so interesting that you say that.
Carl, just before you answer that, I don't think Black women say that. I think usually I think that's been portrayed on Black men from. I don't think Black women say it to Black women. I think that's been portrayed from maybe Caucasian people onto Black men. Really, do you know what I mean? But Carl says something.
Black women say that all the time.
Carl, okay. Because Carl did say something before when you know you get women that you get Black women that and I remember watching something literally this week saying how, you know, and I don't know, Gab, this might be something another topic, but basically a Black woman can literally destroy a Black man in his growth, right? You know, and sometimes the reason why a Black man, you know, you see Black footballers, you know, with their white women into it, love, it is what it is, right? But sometimes, like, when Black women get upset and say, oh, there's no Black men available, or Black men is out with something that's outside of the race. Usually what happens is that sometimes, usually it can happen, but you get a Black woman, she see a Black man, he's struggling, he's not quite there yet, but she doesn't want that. She doesn't want that product. She wants the one who's self-made, who's going for himself. You know, I mean, usually find someone out of race who can see him. He's got a Black man's got a plan. You know, it's all about plan. Where do you see yourself in the future? I'm not there right now, but I've got a plan. But sometimes Black women don't see that plan. They see where you are right now. You know what I mean? So sometimes, and then we Black men have to deal with that sometimes. And I think sometimes that's where those Black men who might go through that kind of have that, you know what I mean? So the whole lazy thing, you know, I mean, you're saying maybe Black women say it to Black men, but I think that comes from.
But, yeah.
Sorry?
I was being a little facetious, just a little bit.
No, of course, it's possible still, you know. Now go ahead, Carl.
Sorry, I was gonna share some personal experiences with and now I've got another one to share to what you said there.
You're dominating. I'm joking.
Oh, my,
no, that's good. It's good. That's good.
So I was gonna say,
Kadeem, I haven't forgotten you, Kadeem. Don't worry.
Sorry, Kadeem. I'll make this my last point. I remember I was dating one particular woman, and what she basically said to me was, "Oh, I can't believe you're doing well." Now, I don't really know what doing well. Say again. She basically said, "I can't believe you're doing well."
Make sure the listeners can hear that, yeah? Make sure the listeners can hear it.
She literally was like, yeah, she was literally just saying, I can't believe you're doing well, and so on and so forth. Now, we can sit in and discuss what doing well actually means, because I don't know what doing well actually means. I don't know what it means either, but she kept saying it to me. And at first I was like, oh, thank you. That you know, that's a nice compliment. I appreciate that. But she kept saying it to the point, like, it just kept happening. She just kept saying, like, I just can't believe it. Like, you're doing really well for yourself. And I was like, thank you. No, but really, you're doing really well for yourself. I'm like, thank you. No, I appreciate that. And then she said it in relation to,
Sorry, just to interject, is that then a reflection of herself, of who she's hanging with, her circle of friends, or not? Maybe
absolutely
doing well in her eyes.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you, because it went on and it got worse to the point where she was like, yeah, because there aren't really black men who this, that, and the third are doing well, and so on and so forth. To the point where it just started making me uncomfortable. And I just ended up making an excuse to just be like, no, I don't think it's gonna work. Like, you know, it's me, it's not you. Like,
it's my breath, it's not your breath. It's all right.
Yeah, you know, all of those kind of things. Like, it just made me really uncomfortable. But what I found really funny was, there's a YouTuber that I watch, because I try not to watch YouTube people who tell persuasive stories, as Adi was trying to say, and I agree with that. But it literally took the stats off of what do you call it, the census, about broken down by race and gender, how people are performing, and I looked at it, and black men, particularly black Caribbean men, were at the bottom. Like, and it weren't even like, it weren't close. Like, it was literally like, we're not there. And then it talks about Caribbean and African women are literally, they're doing all right for themselves. And then it gave me a little bit more perspective on what she was saying, or things that she was saying. And I was like, maybe I was harsh, because at the end of the day, she made me uncomfortable. She made me uncomfortable. This is what it is. But I started to think about it a bit more differently as to what was she saying. Did she really have those experiences with black men that actually weren't doing much for themselves? And really what it boils down to is, I'm in my circle, and in my circle, people are doing about the same as me. So, and again, I don't know what well is, but I can't really, I didn't know that there's black men are underperforming, as they would put it. Do you know what I mean? So that's one part I wanted to share. And another thing that I wanted to share in terms of the breadwinner thing is, I have dated a woman who has pressured me into making more money. And I've also dated a woman, come out of that relationship, dated another woman who has told me that it made her feel insecure that I earned more than her. And I came away from both of those, like, I don't actually know what to do then. Like, how am I actually supposed to win?
What do you even supposed to do in it?
Like, what do I supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know, and all of those things, I guess, just circle back to the conversations that we're having, which is, what is a man, on how do you actually navigate that space, or yeah. So yeah, I'm sure.
No, beautiful points. I think we need to give him a round of applause. For that. I think that was amazing. That's amazing. Good points. Give fingers. Kadeem, been waiting for that half an hour, but what do you think?
What do I think?
Nice one, Carl. By the way, nice one, Carl.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that point as well, Carl. What is well? What is doing well? Isn't it? Like, I again, it's really interesting about people's circles, because I've heard that in the past as well. And I unfortunately have to say that typically it seems to be black females that will more be judging your success rate initially, as opposed to other minorities and other groups, which is maybe one of the things that gets your back up a little bit. Because why is that what you're asked? Like, why is that what we're reflected on? Like, why are you not just getting to know me? Yeah. So, let's hear, Kyle. You got a hand. Yeah. Oh no,
that was an accident.
Okay.
Just testing it out.
Making it there. Because that's what I'm saying. Like, why? Like, for that is not a dynamic that you're being looked at in terms of, okay, well, how successful is this person for their race that they are in, perhaps, or like, and that's maybe where you get when you, if you're dating within your race, or if you're dating a black person specifically, because yeah, that's a real hand. Let's hear it.
Yeah, this one is real hand. So I thought the question for Kadeem and Carl, actually, I think there is I mean, it's not a bad question to ask yourself. There is, you're asking, what does that mean? I mean, there is doing well. I'm not doing well financially. Bam, it is what it is. I am not doing well. You know what I mean? So sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what is well? You know, and I get it. It shouldn't be, you know, you don't be dating someone. That seems like a really tough situation. Like, literally, what do you do in that situation? Like, one wants more, one wants less. Like, what do you do in that situation? But you know, I think we have to ask ourselves, what is well, right? And maybe it's a personal thing. Like, what is well to myself, right? You know what I mean? So I pop for that question back to both of you. Like, you know, what do you deem as doing well, financially, mentally, spiritually, whatever, right?
Yeah, all right, I'll go. So again, so in the response, I'll answer that question in response to the second girl that you were talking about there, Carl, because the one that said she was insecure because you made more than her. Like, that one makes me feel like, well, that's not my problem. Well, to me, means that I can find happiness with myself, sustain happiness with myself, and meet my bills. So that's not just about the wealth aspect of things. It's also looking at health. It's looking at mental health, spiritual health, and physical health. Yeah, like, so where people fixate, or where that person for you, Carl, was telling you, oh, you make more because you're doing well, or you're doing better financially, I'm intimidated, or it knocks me a little bit. That worries me, because the focus is that person's wealth, or their health and well-being is only monetary. Yeah, and there's nothing to do with the fact that you might be bilingual, trilingual. Yeah, you might be a brilliant chef. You might have some of these key things that have nothing to do with this made-up world of finances, but have all the things to do with the things that require the sustainability of life. Like I say, you can be a defender, you can be a protector, a teacher, but those things are not being considered because of how much money you've got. So for me, well is somebody that can look outside of just the monetary box.
Yeah, no, so not to jump in, but after you speak. Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And it comes down to what do you want yourself, really? Because as you said, you could maybe have all the money, or you could have something that someone else hasn't has. So you could, like, two examples. So you could have, say, a guy who's well off, got lots of money, good job or whatever, or a business person who got a good job but hasn't got a family or a wife and child. But then you've got another person, there's another guy who's got a wife and kid, or two children, or whatever, family, and is in a job which is just maybe just above keeping himself and his family going, but not in a bad position, but just that side of it. So, you know, you can say who's doing well, who's happy, who's got wealth. You know, you could have money, but you couldn't have something else. So, you know, they to a certain degree, there may be always somebody above you and below you, and that's the nature of, you know, that if you call it the hierarchy or the range of people, because you always, if you're going to be high, there's going to be somebody below you, and you know, if somebody's doing well, somebody's not going to be doing so well. So there's always going to be that spectrum. So I really think it does come down to what you, I'm not talking to Carl saying you, but I'm saying it comes down to what, you know, the individual wants, and are they happy with what they have, and if they're not, are they looking to change it, or whatever to do to make themselves be happy, content, not to be happy to make someone else feel they're doing well, if you know what I mean. So if you know, because it's always going to go, you know, you can always opinionate somebody. Somebody could say, I'm happy doing my job Monday to Friday and I'm getting 25,000, just for instance, you know, and then somebody could say, well, you're not ambitious, so you're not, you know, well, I'm not going to talk to you. So you're always going to get people like that, you know, and you know, there's going to be the spectrum. That's how life is, because nobody or no individual is always going to be the same as the other. So there's always going to be that spectrum. So I mean, it's Carl. Yeah, I mean, I've been in situations where comments have had, "Oh, you're doing well," or "You don't earn enough," or you know, or "You don't have this," you know. And I always think to myself, you know, I think, "Oh, I've got this," but then somebody sees what you have and think, "Oh, I want what you have. You're doing all right." So, you know, I'm thinking I'm not doing all right. He thinks I'm doing all right. I want something else that guy's got to think I'm better. So it's almost that psychological thing. That's why I was trying to put it down to the individual to really take control of what they own or what they want, and if they're happy with it, that's kind of all that matters, really. You know, to be honest with you, you could go down a whole realm of, if I'm happy with it and someone else thinks I should be doing better, then what's going on? That's your problem. I'm not really gonna be entertained by you. You know, it goes so many ways.
So one of the things we're gonna do. Sorry about that, guys. I had a lighting problem. My light was going a bit crazy. One of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna have a whole episode on dating, relationships, right? So all your little thoughts, all your energies, bring it that time. Bring it, okay? Did you finish your points?
Yeah, man.
You did.
Yeah.
All right, Kofi, what you saying?
Yeah, not really anything to add, really. I think I've said what I've got to say, and I think it's quite refreshing just to hear different points of view and stuff, isn't it? You know, and just regards to feminism, and you know, life in general, black men in society, you know. And it's funny, Carl, you mentioned like how everything come right full circle, because whatever happened in society, we black people always seem to be like catching up, or like, you know what I mean, we keep getting the brunt of things, you know what I mean, you know. It's funny because literally this week I remember seeing something about something along the lines of, very quickly, something along the lines of Jewish people are very, very prominent in both in the business world, finance world, and all the kind of stuff, right? And you know, Jewish people own pretty much everything, right? You know, in sport, music, whatever, right? And it got me thinking. Well, the reason that is because obviously after the Holocaust and the Second World, what have you, they all got reparations, right? You know, so they got lots of money from Germany. So all of their grandparents were smart. They built homes, family, whatever. So they had help and stuff. What happened to black people for 300 years? We don't get no reparations. I mean, so obviously black people always going to be catching up. You know what I mean? So sometimes
we ain't getting no reparations either.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. So sometimes, like, you know, I always feel like black people always like catching up. Always feel like catching up, working a little bit harder. Do you know what I mean? You know, black woman has it hard, black men has it hard, and everyone else is like, you know. That's what I kind of got from this conversation. But just life in general, man, it's a hard slog out there. Do you know what I mean?
Listen. Conversely, though, sorry, Abby, but conversely, some white men are feeling like they're the ones who are getting marginalized even more so. Feel like they're on the same level.
Thank
they're
you, Kyle.
feeling like
Thank you, Kyle.
Being white
Thank you, Kyle.
Being white is
I forgot there's a camera.
a bad thing now. Yeah. I saw you as well. That's why I thought but
I hear that.
We'll talk about it one day.
That's a topic for another day.
Yeah, topic for another day. I mean, I think again, things are stereotypes as well, because you can say, because actually funny. Somebody mentioned to me about the Jewish thing, like all Jewish are probably doing well, but then you speak to some Jewish people and say, no, it's not entirely like that. There are some Jewish people in poverty, so it you know, you could talk to maybe a white person about or a white woman, do you want your man to be earning six figures? You'd be like, what are you talking about? She won't be looking at a man in that way. So are we having these conversations? Are these internal conversations to race, which we are only discussing in our demographic, in a certain way? Because a lot of things can be, you can say a lot of things, and there will be stereotypes, and does that mean you then obviously fall in that category?
Because if as an individual you did everything right, you know, you can almost say you should be successful anyway. But I don't want to say there are general stereotypes. Things are more prominent in one race to the other. That's through history, and that sort of then comes again through stereotypes and just people, other races listen to other people and taking on those stereotypes of those people, you know. So that's why I think, you know, even like Carl, you were saying people, or let's say some people, oh, you're doing really well. You shouldn't, like, you're doing really well for a black man, like, you know what I mean? Like, so what, I shouldn't be doing well because I'm black? Like, what? That's what I'm saying. What are you trying to say? You understand? So that's what I'm saying. What that person themselves that's looking at you that way, it's more of them. So they think as a black person you shouldn't be doing well, or you shouldn't be hiding me.
You know, my first thought when you said that, sorry, my first thought when you said that, right, Carl, was what denomination are they? And I thought to myself, does it even matter what denomination they are? Like, that's just a rude thing to them to say. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah,
that's just like, that's akin to like, let me touch your hair, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Stop normalizing these things. That's not, like you say. What does that mean? What do you mean you're done well for a black man? What does that mean? Is that are you surprised? Are you surprised?
And that's what made me uncomfortable.
What should he be? Innit? If he's doing well, what should he be by your spectrum? Innit?
Like I said, I at the time when it was being said to me, it made me uncomfortable. And then as time went on, I started, I guess, because I always try to consider things from different perspectives, and I was like, maybe that's her experiences though. Like maybe that's what she's actually seeing, which is, man, they ain't doing much for themselves. And yeah, I can't remember if it was, I can't remember who was saying it, but you know, it does also speak on what company she likes to keep around her. But you know, there's so many avenues to it. Okay, yeah, thank you. It's and to your point, Abby, about why are we having these conversations the way that we do? I've had this conversation with somebody recently about what the black dating landscape, and what it literally boils down to is, I think deep down we just know that we have a lack of access to social mobility, and it just dictates a lot of our conversations around dating. That's all it really boils down to.
Money, isn't it?
Money. And although, yes, I agree with, I think it's me, Kadeem, and you saying this, it shouldn't be the end all and be all, but in this world, in many regards, it is. You know, it's whether you have money determines whether you have access to particular things or not. Money determines whether you're going to struggle or not. Money determines how many children you can have and which one of them is going to go to.
But does it though? Even
it doesn't determine how much.
Yeah, it does in a way, because you have to determine, because you can determine who you can, you know, who you can go and have to, you know, you have a more safe who you can go and get with, and you can't, innit? If you got more money.
Yeah, but no,
right?
It's a good point, because as Carl said, that's a very good point, because you mostly would think very logically in terms of having children. Like, I want to make sure every child is set up, so you mostly would have maybe two or one child, whereas somebody who's maybe not well off would have loads of kids who's not thinking about it in that way you're thinking about it. So that's what the spectrum is. But it's so much and so many dynamics, because then you've got people that have many kids but weren't well off, but were very family orientated. So, like, for instance, my parents would say that from my example, they weren't like mega rich, but they had a lot of kids by today's standard, and managed on what you would say was a standard salary. So, you know, you got to think what is more useful in the relationship is, you know, as you said, money does take care of a lot of things and solve things, so you can then focus on other things. But, you know, sometimes if you know, people are worried about, you know, paying the mortgage or not losing your job, so you don't stop paying the mortgage and not getting stuff for your family and all that. So you just focus on that. So yeah, it's very you know, there's a lot in there, and it's not always sometimes as clear, because some of the wealthy people still, their kids do wrong and end up in jail.
So
yeah, money doesn't determine.
I know
Money doesn't determine
what is
anything,
going
but
on.
I think to circle it back is the reason why we as Black people, of any denomination of Black people, have these conversations is because of our lack of access to social mobility. It literally is a choice between somebody who is successful or somebody who is not, and that's on both sides of the fence. It's not even just women talking about men; it's men talking about women as well. Because we have classes within class, even though we don't have much of opportunity to change our class, no matter how successful we are. There's, there's good man, and there's man that's trying to do well, and then there's also man that's considered not Black. There's women who are just what you would call ratchet. There's women who are too high class or think too much of themselves, and that's what I mean in terms of the classes within the classes and how, our selection, our dating landscape is dictated by our lack of access to social mobility and how we think of those things.
Yeah, but I would say that you have that in every race of a person.
Oh no, I agree with you. Yeah, 100%. But what it boils down to is, the reason I bring that up isn't because I think we're the only people affected by that. We're not the only people affected by anything, but we are the people that are most affected by it, simply because of our lack of ability to change our social circumstances. That's it. That's all it boils down to. You can look at
in terms of generational wealth. Yeah.
In terms of generational wealth, in terms of just not even just generational, in terms of if I just decide I don't like my surroundings, I want to change it, I want to move to Chelsea. Even if I have the money, then people, the idea that they're going to accept me over there and that they're going to be okay with me living there is not the same. Do you know what I'm saying? And I say that to bring it back to Ari's point about we're not the only ones who go through it. You can look at people like, I don't know, David Beckham. That guy still talks as the same way he did when he was working class or whatever, but he's still considered a particular echelon of people. Do you know what I mean? He didn't have to change himself to be there. He simply was successful and married, what's her name? Victoria Beckham. And suddenly he's there. Our access to be able to do those kind of things isn't the same. Our footballers, no matter how successful, what happened with Raheem Sterling? He got one tattoo of a gun on his leg, and suddenly,
he's vilified.
Yeah.
We don't have that same, and those things impact us in our conversations when it comes to dating and how we think about them, how we choose our mates, how we, end up on dates having conversations about, so how much do you earn? Or, conversations about do you own a car, do you own your house, and things like that, because really and truly they matter in the context of the Black experience. And that's what I was trying to say. It's not that we only go through it. All races go through these kind of things, and there's classes within races, but we're the most affected by it. As always, any social situation, we're the most affected by it because we're so far behind in so many regards.
I love it. Love it. Right. I think we're all talked out right now. Listen, it's amazing episode today. Those of you who are watching, this is the GM Life Coach podcast. You can see these guys are amazing, so we're gonna have to have them back on again. All right, guys, please share, like, and subscribe, and comment as well. Anything that you've heard, anything you disagree with, anything you agree with, write in the comments. Please put it down there. Yeah. And also there's an email down there if you want to email us directly, and get your views across. You want to write a little bit longer, but you don't want everybody to see it. Put it in the email. It'll be fine. I'll read it out on the show, or not read it out, depending on what you want to say. I just want to thank you for your support. We're up to 90 subscribers, guys. Yep. And the last episode done really, really well. So nice one, Kof. Me and you kind of smashed that. Me and you was on it, right? Yeah. And then the next episode will be me and Kadeem. I'm gonna salvage that episode and put it all together. What I did from last time, so we'll put that'll be the next episode. All right, and this one will come up after. I've also got a special episode with a lady named Beatrice Freeman. Guys, write the name down and Google this lady. She's amazing. She's gonna come on the show. Beatrice Freeman. Okay. Really, really amazing lady. She's done a lot in her life. We're gonna have her on the show. And then also a lady who interviewed me. If you've been looking at all the other videos on YouTube, she interviewed me, and we're gonna bestow the favor to be interviewing her. So there are a few things coming up that we're gonna do. Also, if you would like life coaching or any advice, basically life advice, or you want youth advice, or we're talking money literacy, me and Kadeem are doing some stuff together. So if you would like that to do that, then email us again at the same email that's in the description, all right, below. If you any questions or anything like that, just put it in the comments and we'll get back to you. But yeah, listen, thanks so much, everybody. Each one of you need to say goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, this was it together.
Okay, bye. Cool, guys.
Bye. Yeah.
All right, listen, guys. Yeah, thanks, my man. Listen, thank you so much. It's the GM, the Life Coach. Peace. GM, the Life Coach.